Chapter 21. How could blue silver grass attain full soul power? After another long session of meditation, the master opened his eyes with a sigh. His soul power remained stubbornly frozen at level 30. No matter how diligently he applied his theories, he simply couldn't break through. Disappointment gnawed at him. He forced himself to smile, though. Well, he thought, at least I have a genius disciple with twin martial souls. With Tang San by my side, I'll soon show the entire Soul Master world that I'm no failure. Ever since he took Tang San under his wing, the master felt as if he'd regained a second youth. As long as Tang San followed his theoretical methods, it was only a matter of time before they proved his worth, to himself and to all of Douluo Continent, that he was indeed a leading authority on martial soul theory. Just then, a sudden rap came at the door. "Come in," the master called out calmly, curious who might be visiting at this hour. The door swung open, and a tall, broad-shouldered man in middle age stepped inside. His heavy footsteps echoed in the quiet room, drawing the master's full attention. "Master," the newcomer said with a respectful bow, "I've brought news you'll want to hear." He stepped out of the shadows, clad in a tattered black robe, his unkempt hair hanging low over his eyes. He looked every bit the beggar. Despite the ruined garment and the night's chill, an unsettling aura clung to him, as though he were no mere man but a caged beast. "Excuse me, who are you?" the master of the Three Treasures Hall asked, voice wavering with both curiosity and caution. Though he could not see the stranger's eyes, a pressure pressed in on him, heavy and inhuman. The newcomer's reply was slow, each word rasping like dry leaves. "Master, it's been more than 20 years, hasn't it?" 20 years? The master's hand twitched toward the hilt at his belt, yet he found his voice betraying him. "Who are you?" he repeated, honorifics slipping into his tone. Why would a disheveled vagabond claim such familiarity? And why come to the hall at this late hour, bearing no insignia or invitation? As these questions danced on his tongue, the master sensed something deeper, a faint pulse of soul power rolling off the stranger in waves far stronger than his own. No matter how he might have preferred to send the beggar away, he knew he had no choice but to stay and listen. Tang Hao gave a low, mirthless chuckle as he brushed the curtain of hair from his eyes. "No wonder you didn't recognize me in this guise, master. It's been a long time. My name is Tang Hao." At once the master's face went pale, horror flashing in his eyes. He dropped into a respectful bow. "Lord Tang Hao, I've heard of the Hao Qian crown." Tang Hao's tone grew quiet, sharp. "Those days are behind me. But tell me this, you've already pieced together Third Miss's true parentage, haven't you?" The master swallowed. "Yes, your majesty, the Hao Qian crown. I suspected from the start that Third Miss must be your daughter. The Hao Qian sect has been closed these many years, absent from the Soul Master world. There could be no other direct disciple who fits the bill." A faint smile tugged at Tang Hao's lips. "Very perceptive, and I understand you've taken my lady as your disciple. Observing your training today, I'd say you've earned your reputation 10 times over." "I'm not worthy of such praise," the master protested, bowing his head again. "Guiding disciples is simply my duty." "Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed to call me teacher," the master murmured, his voice low and even. "That's all the more reason I'm grateful," Tang Hao replied softly, inclining his head. "With you guiding him, I have no doubt he'll soon become a powerful soul master." He let the words hang in the quiet study, then added, "I have business elsewhere, master. I entrust my son to your care." The master's brow furrowed. "You're leaving? For your own child? Do you need my blessing to attend to your affairs?" Tang Hao shook his head, his eyes darkening. "I trust you complete, Li. My only concern is knowing he's safe with you. As for me, there are debts from the past I intend to collect in person. What the Martial Soul Hall did to me, I will never forget." Surprise flickered across the master's face. "You plan to stand against the Soul Hall single-handedly?" A bitter smile curved Tang Hao's lips. "I'm simply reclaiming what's owed. Don't worry, I won't act recklessly. My sole focus now is my son. And please remember, though he is my flesh and blood, he is also your disciple." Master Li stroked his chin thoughtfully. "A teacher and a father for life. I hope those aren't just empty words." Tang Hao inclined his head. "Ever since Xiao-san accepted me as his master, I've regarded him as my own son. I will see to his safety and training until Lord Haotian returns to crown you." "Pleased," Master Li nodded. Tang Hao then flicked his wrist, and a black token embossed with the 6 martial spirits emblem clattered onto the scholar's cluttered desk. Master Li's eyes narrowed at the sight of it. "Where did you—" Tang Hao cut him off with a cool smile. "No need for questions right now. I came on another matter." He leaned forward. "Xiao-san is an honest, straightforward boy. I want him to spend more time with that girl in the dormitory, Xiao Wu." "Xiao Wu?" Master Li sounded surprised. "Is there something remarkable about her?" Tang Hao's voice was calm but firm. "Don't pry into her affairs. Just know she comes from a distinguished background. Arrange for them to interact more often." Master Li folded his hands behind his back. "Very well. I'll make the necessary arrangements." Satisfied, Tang Hao gave a curt nod. The 2 mentors stood in silence for a moment, each contemplating the new alliance that would shape Xiao-san's future. "Let their relationship deepen. It'll be the perfect opening for the matron," Tang Hao suggested. "The perfect opening for Xiao-san." The master mused for a moment. "I understand. You think she's a scion of some hidden clan. Don't worry. I'll explain everything to Xiao-san." Tang Hao gave the master a long, unreadable look, then fell silent. With a decisive bang, the door swung shut, and his tall figure disappeared into the inner sanctum. The master stared at the closed door, then picked up the black token, bitterness flickering at the corners of his mouth. He sighed softly. "I never imagined my idol would come to this." He tapped the token lightly. "Still, what's so special about that girl? Why would His Majesty Haotian issue such an order? More contact with her can hardly be a bad thing." A sly smile crept across his face. "Hey, 3 cultivators with fully awakened soul powers have appeared at the small nodding academy. I wonder if Bibi Dong has heard the news yet?" Wuhun City, Pope's Palace. In the grand, sunlit hall sat a striking woman, her eyelids heavy as she lazily scanned the document in her hand. An urgent dispatch had arrived from a remote settlement called Nodding City. Modest and unassuming, the little town's report nevertheless stunned even the formidable Pope, Bibi Dong. Seated on her alabaster throne, the young pontiff fixed her violet eyes on the messenger kneeling before her, a man in gilded armor, his face elaborately painted in ceremonial makeup, trembling as he waited for her command. "Elder Jew," Bibi Dong said coolly, addressing the stooped figure standing beside her throne. "Is it possible for someone born with only the blue silver grass martial soul, long regarded as worthless, to become a soul genius with full innate power?" Douluo Yueguan, a veteran botanist who had devoted decades to studying the spirit affinities of plants, straightened his shoulders. In his deep, resonant voice he replied, "Your Holiness, according to every record and every specimen I've ever examined, blue-silver grass is so weak that most cultivators fail to awaken any soul power at all. There has never been, nor could there ever be, a true genius born with full innate soul power whose only martial soul is that." Bibi Dong's lips curved into a faint, inscrutable smile. She turned her attention back to the quivering messenger. "Yet this report insists otherwise," she said. "Speak at once. Tell us of this so-called prodigy." The hall fell into a hush as the messenger bowed his head and read aloud the astonishing details that had come all the way from the distant fields of Nodding City, details that threatened to overturn everything the Spirit Hall believed it knew about soul cultivation. Chapter 12. The Second Soul. "Elder Jew is right," Bibi Dong mused, reclining on her throne with languid grace. "But what if this prodigy, who already displays full innate soul power, also possesses a second martial soul alongside his blue-silver grass?" With a casual flick of her wrist, she sent a dossier gliding across the polished marble floor. It came to rest palms up in Zhu Yueguang's hands. Zhu's eyes widened. He swept through the pages in a breath, then looked up, voice barely above a whisper. "Name Tang San, soul power full innate, martial soul blue-silver grass." A soft, amused chuckle escaped Bibi Dong. She rested her cheek in her hand and regarded him over long, curling lashes. "You spotted it too," she said. "How could someone whose martial soul is the notoriously feeble blue-silver grass awaken with peak soul power? The only reasonable explanation is a second soul, one whose potential matches or even exceeds that of the grass." Zhu Yueguang blinked in astonishment. "Your Highness, blue-silver grass is essentially worthless. Even if he has a twin martial soul, what are the chances it would be of equal caliber? Bibi Dong's smile deepened, her golden eyes gleaming with intrigue. In this world, she murmured, the impossible sometimes walks among us. Bibi Dong turned to Elder Ju and asked, Master Ju, what do you believe is the ultimate potential of blue-silver grass? Ju Douluo's eyes suddenly brightened, a spark of realization flashing through them. You mean, Chapter 22, Ju Douluo investigates Tang San's background. It seems you've already pieced it together. Bibi Dong rose from the Pope's throne, her tall, graceful figure brushing the air as she moved to stand before Ju Douluo Yueguan. Casually lifting the dossier in her hand, she continued, His martial soul is the blue-silver grass, enhanced by innate soul power, and his surname is Tang. All the clues point to only one person. Understood, Your Holiness. I'll begin the inquiry at once. Ju Douluo bowed respectfully. Having served Bibi Dong for many years, he needed no further explanation. Good, Bibi Dong said coolly. Delve into every detail of Tang San's past life, then return and report directly to me. Yes, Your Holiness. With that, Ju Douluo slipped out of the Pope's palace. Once he had gone, Bibi Dong sank back into her chair and lowered her gaze, lost in thought. Bang! 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 In the dense woods behind Notting College, sharp, echoing sounds cut through the quiet. Unknown to those within the palace walls, a new investigation, one that would uncover secrets long buried, was already underway. I spotted a dark figure flitting between the trees, each landing accompanied by the sharp crack of snapping branches. In the next instant, the shadow halted before a massive trunk. Bending down, he scooped up a handful of stones and, channeling his soul power, sent them flying at the wood with alarming force. Thud, thud, thud. Each stone punched into the bark like a bullet, carving neat holes in the tree's surface. Heh, Cheng Xiao murmured, stepping back to admire the damage. So infusing soul power really does boost the impact. I didn't think it would work so well. Behind him, perched on a cobalt boulder, sat a girl whose hair was twisted into scorpion-like braids. She tapped her foot in boredom, her red lips forming a perfect pout of annoyance. Cheng Xiao, she called, springing lightly to the ground. You promised you'd only practice this morning, and now it's afternoon. Hurry it up, you show-off. With that, she marched forward to stand beside the scarred tree, arms crossed in exasperation. I don't know when the dagger will be finished. I can't wait to see it, Cheng Xiao muttered, licking his dry lips. I've been thinking about you, Sister Xiaowu. A warm, irritated voice crackled behind him. Cheng Xiao froze, then spun around, cheeks flaming. Xiaowu stood there, arms outstretched. She'd grabbed him by the collar and was shaking him like a rag doll. Look at the time! We agreed you'd only be gone one morning. Cheng Xiao winced. I'm sorry. I just got so absorbed. He didn't struggle as Xiaowu rattled him. Instead, he offered a sheepish grin. Poor Sister Xiaowu, waiting around all day because of me. Finally, she let go, crossing her arms and pouting. I was really looking forward to you taking me out for a good meal. Now I'm all steamed up. Cheng Xiao stepped closer, concern and something gentler softening his gaze. He leaned in so near that Xiaowu's eyes widened. How about this? I'll go freshen up, a quick bath, and then I'll treat you to your favorite dishes. Best meal ever. Deal? Xiaowu blinked, her anger melting into surprise as she studied his earnest face. Xiaowu hadn't expected Cheng Xiao to come up to her so boldly, or to stand so close. Before she even realized what she was doing, she'd agreed. I knew you would, Cheng Xiao said with a triumphant smile. He reached out and gently stroked her rabbit ears. Thank you for agreeing to train with me here, Xiaowu. Then he slipped her hand into his and led her back toward the dormitories. Xiaowu looked up at him in surprise, her expression blank. But strangely, she didn't pull away. Meanwhile, Tang San, who'd been granted the day off by Cheng Xiao, made his way to the blacksmith shop. He had planned to spar with Cheng Xiao before taking a break, only to discover that Cheng Xiao had rushed off with Xiaowu first thing in the morning. All day he'd waited in the dormitory, expecting them to return at any moment, but by noon there was still no sign of them. Growing restless, he decided to head to the smithy instead, eager to hone his casting techniques. After all, the Tang sect's hidden weapons wouldn't forge themselves, and he intended to make them stronger than ever. Tang San stepped into the glowing heat of the smithy and cleared his throat. Sir, Would you consider taking me on as an apprentice? The blacksmith, a burly man with arms like iron bands, paused in mid-swing, setting his hammer on the anvil with a resonant clang. He wiped sweat from his brow, eyed the boy's patched tunic, and replied in a low growl, "You're too young for this trade, kid. Don't think you can waste my time by asking for an apprenticeship you can't handle." Tang San stood a little straighter. "You misunderstand, sir. My father is the village blacksmith. Ever since I could lift a hammer, he taught me the basics: forging, hammerwork, even casting. I know the craft, and I promise I can keep pace." The blacksmith leaned back, arms crossed, studying Tang San's earnest face. He glanced again at the boy's threadbare clothes, then let out a thoughtful hum. "Is that so? You really think you've learned enough to join me here?" A quiet confidence lit Tang San's dark eyes. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a sinewy forearm. "I may look small, but I've got plenty of strength for hammering steel, and the willingness to learn anything you teach me." The smith's stern expression softened into a faint smile. He swept a lock of hair from his forehead and nodded. "Very well. We could use another pair of hands. Be here at first light tomorrow. If you work hard, I'll teach you everything I know." Tang San bowed deeply. "Thank you, sir. I won't let you down." The blacksmith slapped him on the shoulder and picked up his hammer again. "You'd better not. Now get out of here. I need to finish this piece before the fires die." And with that, Tang San left the forge, his heart pounding with excitement at the chance to prove himself under the master smith's watchful eye. Forging ordinary pig iron? No problem. "Then prove it," the master blacksmith challenged, handing Tang San a hefty casting hammer. "I'm tied up with another order. Take that hammer, finish forging the unshaped ingot over there, and if it's done right, you can stay." "Understood." Tang San grasped the hammer's handle and strode toward the blazing furnace. The master shook his head as he watched him. Blacksmithing was grueling work. Hiring an outsider, especially one so young, as an apprentice was unheard of. With a sharp clang, Tang San's hammer leapt from his hand. It spun in precise arcs before striking the glowing iron. Strike after strike rang through the shop like a heartbeat, steady, powerful, unerring. The other smiths paused in their work, astonished by the boy's effortless control. Never had they seen someone so young wield a casting hammer with such grace and force. Within minutes, sparks danced and the raw iron took shape. One by one, their surprise turned to awed silence as they realized Tang San wasn't merely faking skill, he was a true craftsman in the making. The clang of hammer on anvil echoed through the smithy, drawing the attention of every seasoned blacksmith inside. A group of elderly craftsmen exchanged astonished looks as they watched Tang San at work. "He's using the cloak method," one of them whispered, eyes wide. "The cloak method?" another asked in disbelief. "I've never even heard of it." "It's an old forging technique, completely lost to time, they say. You deliver a continuous series of blows, each one channeling your full strength. It's called random cloak hammering, because you let instinct guide your strikes. Hardly anyone masters it these days, yet here's this kid, doing it like it's nothing." Outside the open doorway, a figure in a plain black robe paused, peering in at Tang San with unmistakable relief. After a brief moment, he turned and slipped quietly away. That evening, in Dormitory 7 at Notting College, Tang San slipped inside and found Cheng Xiao lounging on his bed, idly flipping through a training manual. "Cheng Xiao," Tang San said softly, "didn't we agree last night to spar today?" Cheng Xiao looked up, embarrassed. "Ah, sorry, Tang San, I spaced out. My memory's been terrible lately." Tang San offered a small shrug. "Fair enough. How about tomorrow, then?" Cheng Xiao scratched his head. I don't think that'll work either." He gave a half-apologetic smile. "Can we reschedule for later this week?" Tang San nodded, folding his arms. "All right. Just don't let it slip your mind again." Cheng Xiao laughed nervously. "I'll do my best." And with that, the two friends drifted off toward their separate evening routines, each silently anticipating their next encounter in the training yard. Tang San paused at the edge of the courtyard and glanced back at Cheng Xiao. "Then let's compare notes whenever we have free time." Cheng Xiao offered him a warm smile. "Sure, just let me know when you're free." With that, Tang San gave a curt nod and turned toward his bunk. Since Cheng Xiao was tied up for the afternoon, there'd be no sparring session. He might as well head down to the blacksmith shop, practice a few more forging techniques, and harvest any spare pig iron left over for crafting hidden weapons. The forge's heat hit him like a wave as he pushed through the swinging doors. Hammers rang out in a steady rhythm, and a pair of veteran smiths hovered over a large drafting table, sketching designs on a rolled parchment. Tang San's eyes narrowed with interest. He knew as well as anyone that blueprints in a forge didn't usually translate into ordinary plowshares or horseshoes. He stepped closer, heart pounding. What kind of weapon could these half-size workshops be turning out? As a hidden weapons specialist, his curiosity was practically an element of his soul. Setting aside his own pig iron allotment, he crossed his arms and studied the drawing. The parchment showed the outline of a sleek, segmented shaft, almost like a collapsible staff, its joints flanged with toothed ridges. Alongside it lay sketches of a small, disc-shaped contraption, each one marked with annotations about gearing and counterweights. One of the older smiths noticed him at the table and straightened up. "You've got a sharp eye," the man said, curling the end of his mustache. "This is something we've been tinkering on, a new kind of concealed polearm, light enough to hide on the wrist, strong enough to deploy in an instant." Tang San's pulse quickened. "May I?" he asked, motioning toward the design. The smith exchanged a look with his partner, then grinned. "By all means, study away. Just don't scribble all over our plans." Tang San unrolled the parchment completely and traced each line with his fingertip. The segments looked deceptively simple. Each joint was threaded with a miniature latch mechanism. The disc, he realized, was a weighted hub that, when snapped into place, would lock two or more sections together, forming a rigid shaft. Brilliant. He straightened, already formulating improvements in his mind. "I've got a few ideas about streamlining the latch and using a secondary spring to reduce deployment time to under a second. If you're interested, I could draft some revisions." The elder smith let out a low whistle. "You really are a hidden weapon man. All right, if you're serious, come by tomorrow. We'll see what your improvements look like on metal." Tang San nodded, a grin tugging at his lips. This unexpected collaboration was better than any sparring match. As he set to work preparing his own scraps of pig iron, he could barely wait to get started. Chapter 23, Blue Silvergrass and its Multifaceted Growth. In the southwest reaches of the Tiando Empire, within Fasun Province, lay Shengun Village, a humble settlement of just over 300 households. A century ago, it had earned its name when a soul saint-ranked soul master was born there, forever marking the village as a place of quiet significance. At dawn, a pale, fish-belly white light edged the eastern sky, bathing the rice paddies and low thatch roofs in an otherworldly glow. Standing at the village entrance was a lone figure clad in burnished golden armor. His skin was as smooth as porcelain, his features so exquisitely refined that, but for the faint shadow of an Adam's apple at his throat, no one would have guessed him a man. A gemstone the size of a child's fist was set into his breastplate, its opulent gleam underscoring his noble bearing. After ensuring no unwelcome faces prowled Shengun's narrow lanes, the armored stranger strolled along the stone causeway to the home of Old Jack, the village elder. At the sight of the Spirit Hall emblem on the man's cloak, Old Jack greeted him respectfully. The envoy's mission was simple yet delicate. Learn everything there was to know about Tang San's upbringing and early training. Recognizing the Spirit Hall's authority and seeing no immediate danger, Old Jack's voice took on an eager lilt as he leaned forward to share each treasured detail of Tang San's childhood, setting in motion a chain of events that would ripple far beyond the borders of Shengun Village. "Soulmaster, may I ask if Tang San got into trouble at school?" Old Jack blurted out, having noticed Douluo's expression darken at the mention of Tang Hao. "That man's only our village blacksmith. If I hadn't taken him in, he'd still be begging in the streets." He straightened his back, voice tinged with self-righteousness. "Poor Xiao-san's had a miserable life, but at least he's sensible. Without a useless father, drunk half the time, sleeping the rest, he wouldn't be going hungry every day." Douluo Yueguan offered a faint smile. "The village chief speaks truly," he agreed, though his eyes remained alert, scanning the room as if expecting Tang Hao to appear at any moment. "But tell me, does that blacksmith Tang Hao still live here in the village?" Old Jack hesitated, then shook his head. To be honest, Soul Master, ever since Tang San went to school in Notting City, I've hardly seen him or his father around. I suspect Tang Hao has left Holy Soul Village. I don't know where he might be now. Old Village Chief, Douluo said, folding his palm. A small pouch brimming with gold soul coins appeared in his hand. He pressed it into Old Jack's calloused grip. I'm a deacon of the Spirit Hall, and this boy is a rare prodigy. His soul power is already fully matured. I'd be grateful for any information you can share about him and his father. Old Jack hesitated, his weathered face creasing with surprise. Soul Master, I couldn't possibly. He reached instinctively to refuse, but when he caught Douluo's determined gaze, he relented and tucked the heavy pouch into his coat. Very well, he said. Tang Hao isn't originally from Holy Soul Village. He arrived here 6 years ago, gravely wounded and carrying a newborn in his arms. I couldn't turn them away, so I gave them shelter. He paused, staring into the dying embers of the hearth. That baby grew into the boy we now call Tang San. Beyond them, though, I've never laid eyes on Tang San's mother. Tang Hao never speaks of her, and to be honest, I suspect she's passed. A man who carries such grief in his eyes, he wouldn't bear it otherwise. Old Jack's quiet words confirmed Douluo's suspicions. The two stood in solemn silence, the crackle of the fire marking the weight of the truth they now shared. 6 years ago, he had arrived in Holy Soul Village, just in time for the battle that would follow. Even more astonishing was the discovery that Tang Hao and a soul beast had somehow borne a child, Tang San. Now Tang San had manifested the blue-silver, grass martial soul, an extraordinarily rare, full-blooded innate spirit. If he truly possessed twin martial souls, then his blue-silver grass could not be an ordinary strain. It must share the very lifeblood of that soul beast. In other words, Tang San was almost certainly the long-forgotten blue-silver grass emperor. Chrysanthemum Douluo Yueguan's heart pounded at the implications. As a titled Douluo who had devoted his life to studying plants, he prided himself on knowledge, second only to poison Douluo Dugu Bo. He knew, above all else, that this was no simple coincidence. I must inform His Holiness the Pope at once, he resolved. Having confirmed his suspicions, Chrysanthemum Douluo Yueguan wasted no time. In a flash of golden light, he vanished from Holy Soul Village as swiftly as he had appeared. Chapter X, The Master's Inquiry. Morning light filtered through the pines of Notting City Soulmaster Junior College, painting the training grounds in soft gold. Under a blooming cherry tree, Tang San sat cross-legged, absorbed in a heavy textbook. Master Lei approached, his robes whispering against the grass. Xiao San, Master Lei called, his tone calm yet authoritative. Tang San looked up and rose respectfully. Master, good morning. Master Lei nodded. Tell me, have you committed all the theoretical material I assigned to memory? Tang San snapped the book closed with a soft thud. Yes, Master. I've reviewed every formula and principle until I can recite them without hesitation. Excellent, Master Lei said, a faint smile crossing his lips. You learn quickly and often draw insights others miss. Now, I have another question. Have you seen Cheng Xiao's first spirit ring yet? Tang San's shoulders slumped a little. Not yet, Master. Since Cheng Xiao returned, he's refused to show it to anyone. I've challenged him to spar repeatedly, but each time he insists we wait until tomorrow. Then he vanishes, off playing with Xiao Wu, attending theory lectures, or holed up in the library. Outside of meals, classes, and sleep, I barely see him. Master Lei's eyes glinted thoughtfully. The dean told me Cheng Xiao subdued a soul beast of unknown affinity and forged its energy into his first spirit ring. Tang San's breath caught. An unknown attribute soul beast? That's unheard of. Master Lei chuckled softly. Indeed, keep sharpening your studies, Xiao San. Your own moment will come. As Master Lei walked away, Tang San watched him go, heart pounding with anticipation. If Cheng Xiao could conquer the mysterious, what incredible heights might lie ahead for them all. Now that you mention it, I've been wondering whether there's something wrong with his first soul ring, the master said, pausing to reflect. After a moment, he continued in an even tone. Cheng Xiao certainly has talent, but his grasp isn't especially quick. The dry theories taught in the classroom can never compare to the results of my personal instruction. Tang San nodded, his respect for his teacher's methods growing all the more. He'd already put those very principles to the test. When his blue-silver grass absorbed the mandala snake's soul ring, it had indeed unlocked the entangling poison soul skill, and in the process, it had fused the snake's attributes into its own venom. Tang-san regretted never having had the chance to show it off. Otherwise, it would have been him, not Cheng Xiao, who bested Xiao Chenyu. By the way, teacher, Tang-san said suddenly, Cheng Xiao really is different from the other students. He's more mature than his years suggest, and his physique and reflexes are exceptionally strong. Master Li's stern expression softened into a wry smile as he listened to Tang-san. Soner, he said, even if Cheng Xiao isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, you can't deny his talent. A genius born with soul power inevitably stands apart from his peers. But that needn't be a drawback. In fact, what's the point of locking himself away in the library day after day? Martial theory demands unfettered imagination and creative thinking, not endless book learning. If he loves the books so much, let him indulge himself. His aptitude isn't bad, but I doubt he'll ever accomplish anything remarkable. I can't see him even reaching the threshold of a titled Douluo in his lifetime. As for his martial spirit, something to do with shadows, it's a perilous path. Aside from that lone titled Douluo in the spirit hall whose spirit is a ghost, shadow-based cultivators always face steeper challenges. Without solid theoretical guidance, his journey as a soul master will stall long before he realizes he's gone off track, and by then, it'll be far too late to correct course. Master Li shook his head regretfully, the lines of worry deepening around his eyes. In Luo's estimation, if Cheng Xiao agreed to become his disciple, her achievements might never eclipse Tang-san's, but she would at least attain the rank of a titled fighter at level 95 or higher. By the way, Xiao-san, Luo said, leaning forward, in the Soul Master world, most people take extreme, one-dimensional paths when cultivating their martial souls. The textbooks all but force you to specialize in one direction. As your teacher, I want you to learn to judge for yourself, rather than just swallow whatever's in the books. He gave Tang-san a knowing look. If anything in 5 Elements soul theory ever puzzles you, come straight to me. I'll answer every question you have. And as for your cultivation, I want you to take a balanced approach. You know blue-silver grass can develop along many lines, he added, so there's no harm in exploring multiple avenues. Tang-san nodded. He'd already studied his master's theories and had no reason to refuse. In fact, the idea of cultivating his blue-silver grass in a well-rounded way excited him. Chapter 24, The Spirit Hall's Methods. Wuhan City, the Spirit Hall Palace. Bibi Dong reclined majestically on her throne as Douluo Yueguan knelt before her, head bowed in respectful silence. After a moment she spoke, her voice cool and measured. It seems your investigation has concluded. Your Majesty, he replied with a slight bow. From within his robes he drew a neatly bound dossier and offered it to her. I carried out your orders in Holy Soul Village. This contains every record of Tang-san's life. Excellent. Bibi Dong extended a slender, jade-pale hand and took the dossier, her fingers brushing over its cover like delicate brushstrokes. She opened it and began to read, her emerald eyes narrowing in concentration. Douluo Yueguan stood at attention, his expression solemn. Your Majesty, upon completing my inquiries, I can confirm that Tang-san's father, Tang Hao, before he suffered his grievous injury, was indeed. A sudden chill drifted through the grand hall, halting his words. Instinctively, he froze, unwilling to continue until the mysterious presence passed. The dossier lay open in Bibi Dong's hands, its secrets poised on the brink of revelation. Bibi Dong glanced casually at Douluo Yueguan, who stood with his lips sealed. Her eyes narrowed ever so slightly as she spoke, her voice cool and even. Excellent work on your investigation. I never would have guessed that the legendary Haotian Douluo has been hiding out as a simple village blacksmith. Now it makes sense why the Soul Master world has lost all track of him. Douluo Yueguan bowed his head in acknowledgement. Tang-san's martial spirit is certainly no ordinary blue-silver grass. A mere waste spirit of that breed cannot awaken its full potential. If I remember correctly, the original spirit beast was over 100,000 years old, none other than the blue-silver emperor in its true form. Bibi Dong's expression grew more intense. Exactly, Your Holiness. From my years of studying flowers and plants, I'm convinced that Tongsan's dormant spirit is indeed the blue-silver grass. When it fully awakens, it will become the emperor of that entire clan, the blue-silver emperor itself. At her words, Douluo Yuguan allowed himself a rare, small smile. The pieces were falling into place: a missing Duuluo, an inconspicuous blacksmith's apprentice in a backwater village, and a martial spirit powerful enough to rival the legend of old. Now, with the specter of the blue-silver emperor poised to re-emerge, they both knew the balance of power in the Soulmaster world could shift in an instant. Chapter excerpt. Bibi Dong's dark eyes gleamed as she rose from her throne at Wuhun Palace. "The emperor of the blue-silver grass," she murmured, her voice calm but charged with meaning. Cheng Xiao conceived an impeccable plan. He gave his son the world's mightiest weapon, the Haoqin hammer, and named him heir to the blue-silver grass clan. Douluo Yueguan swallowed hard, glancing at the assembled elders before addressing the Pope. "Your Holiness, shall we move against him now?" His hand rubbed the back of his neck in nervous anticipation. At last, they had uncovered Tongsan's heritage. He was the son of the peerless Douluo Cheng Xiao, blessed with twin martial spirits, one the legendary clear sky hammer, the other the fabled blue-silver emperor. If allowed to mature, he would pose a cataclysmic threat to the spirit hall. Bibi Dong's lips curved into a cold smile. "Of course we cannot permit him to live. A child who bears both a blood feud against my spirit hall and the world's two rarest spirit roots. How could he ever become emperor of the blue-silver grass without soul power bursting from his very core?" Her tone brooked no argument. As Pope of Wuhun Palace, Bibi Dong was not only a domain of supreme beast martial arts, wielding 2 of the 5 supreme beast spirits, but also a master of spirit theory. She understood better than anyone that a warrior's destiny is written in the power of his soul. And Tongsan's fate, she decided, would be sealed today. After poring over the Wuhun Palace's theoretical archives, Bibi Dong was almost certain, 99% sure, that Tongsan was a twin martial spirit. The blue-silver grass listed in the Awakening Registry was only his public guise. His hidden spirit lay carefully concealed. "Elder Ju," she said, lowering her voice, "we can't afford to act hastily. The enemy has the advantage of secrecy, while we're exposed. If we strike too soon, even the 2 of you, Elder Ju and Ghost Douluo, won't last more than a few exchanges against Cheng Xiao's strength." She let that sink in, then continued, "And if we don't end it with a single decisive blow, Cheng Xiao will see through our plot. He'll unleash a vengeful fury so fierce that the Spirit Hall will pay dearly for our failure." Bibi Dong's eyes glimmered with resolve. She knew all too well the might of the 2 elders, Ghost Douluo, first among them, and Ju Douluo, the second. Without covert support from the worship hall's disciples, capturing Cheng Xiao was a gamble destined to fail, one that would cost their entire order far more than any potential gain. Bibi Dong knew better than to send the lesser elders against foes whom even first elder and second elder could not handle. Such a battle would only be a needless sacrifice. She wasn't that unwise. Besides, she was still undergoing the final assessment of the Rakshasa 9th examination and could not afford to reveal her full strength. These elders would prove valuable later, so there was no reason to break ties with Cheng Xiao just yet. That said, Bibi Dong had no intention of simply surrendering. Even if she herself held back, there were others who could act. From the enshrinement hall, the legendary Great Enshrinement Qiandaoliu, known across the skies as invincible, would surely intervene if matters grew dire. As Pope of the Wuhun Palace, she also had a pale inkling why Qiandaoliu had never launched a full-scale assault on the Haoqin sect. Had he done so, a single strike that year might have wiped the Haoqin sect entirely from the Douluo Continent. "Your Holiness," Ju Douluo Yueguan spoke thoughtfully, "apart from Tongsan, I have identified 2 more geniuses born with innate spirit power." Bibi Dong's eyes flickered with interest. "Oh, tell me everything." Bibi Dong settled into her crimson-carved chair and regarded Ju Douluo Yueguan with a cool, amused expression. "I'm intrigued," she said. "Tell me, why did those 2 children turn down the Spirit Hall's invitation? You deal in these matters every day. You must know the reason." Ju Douluo Yueguan paused, choosing his words carefully. "Your Holiness, according to the deacon of the Wuhun Palace branch, The boy Cheng Xiao insists on becoming a free soul master. The girl, Xiao Wu, gave the exact same reason. A free soul master? Bibi Dong's eyes flashed with interest. How remarkable! A 6-year-old, fresh from spirit awakening, already understanding the concept of freedom. I wouldn't have expected it. She leaned forward, her red lips curving in a faint smile. And what of Cheng Xiao's background? He wields an extraordinary amount of soul power. Is he perhaps a genius born to some clandestine family? Douluo bowed slightly. Your Majesty, I've looked into his past. Cheng Xiao has no known relatives. He's a complete orphan. He was discovered on the outskirts of Chengjia village by old Cheng, the village chief, who raised him as his own. Bibi Dong's smile deepened as she folded her hands before her. An orphan with hidden strength, determined to chart his own course. Very well. Keep a close watch on him and his companion, Xiao Wu. I want to know exactly what drives their desire for freedom. Douluo Yueguan's expression remained solemn as he spoke. I've found no records of his parents. Before returning from Holy Soul Village, he'd made a special detour to the Wuhun branch hall in Notting City to dig up detailed information on the 2 other innate soul prodigies. Bibi Dong hadn't ordered the inquiry, but Yueguan knew it was better to be prepared than caught, off guard. He'd uncovered Cheng Xiao's history without trouble, but Xiao Wu's background was a puzzle. She was a total orphan. No father, no mother, no clues about when or how her martial spirit had awakened. It had simply appeared, as if from nowhere. Bibi Dong let out a lazy chuckle and stretched, the graceful curve of her body deliberately on display. Don't worry about those 2 just yet, she said. He's intent on becoming a freelance spirit master. There's no rush to bring him into the spirit hall. Yueguan hastily bowed his eyes, refusing to look at her. Bibi Dong's lips curved into an amused smile. Elder Ju, be sure to keep a close eye on every genius born with soul power. No matter which faction they might join, the Soul Palace must be the only destination for those children. Before any rival force catches wind of their talents, we must lure them here, bind them to Wuhun Palace, or see them vanish from the Douluo Continent altogether. I understand, Your Majesty, Douluo Yueguan replied, though even he, having served Bibi Dong for years, could feel a chill at how casually she decided the fate of 2 6-year-olds. Bibi Dong raised a slender hand, her eyes flashing. Almost forgot. Cheng Xiao's martial spirit is a shadow soldier, strikingly similar to our ghost elders. If possible, I want him apprenticed to one of you 2 elders. You are both titled Douluo, the finest masters on the continent. It would be the perfect training ground. She paused, her voice growing colder. In the end, every rising genius on Douluo Continent must answer to Wuhun Palace. We cannot allow the 3 upper sects to claim them first. Is that clear? Crystal clear, Your Majesty, Yueguan answered, his tone deep and unwavering. Very well. Now that that's settled, let's attend to more pressing matters. Bibi Dong lifted her golden scepter and spoke with calm authority. Yueguan, come with me to the temple. We must present this critical issue concerning Wuhun Palace to the Grand Priest. Dear readers, I'm excited to announce that Chapter 25 is now live. This novel will premiere on QQ Reading tomorrow at 12 p.m., and Chidian readers can find it there as well. If you have a membership, the new chapter will be completely free. A little background on how this story came to be. I was inspired after watching I Level Up Alone and becoming utterly fascinated by the Shadow King, Cheng Xiao. I even began writing my own Douluo. I Level Up Alone fanfic, though I eventually set that aside to focus on this tale. But enough about the origins, let's let the story speak for itself. Full confession, I don't keep multiple backups of my drafts, so I've been pushing myself to write and revise on the fly. Quality is my top priority, which means my update schedule can be a bit unpredictable. Rest assured, every chapter is carefully edited before it goes up. If you notice any errors or awkward phrasing, please drop me a comment. I'll correct it overnight. Oh, and about our heroine. Come on, a king's court isn't complete without a grand harem, right? Thank you all for your support. I hope you enjoy Chapter 25, and I look forward to bringing you many more adventures soon. Your author. Chapter 26. Outrageous. Spirit Hall. Douluo Hall. Rising above the sprawling courts of the Spirit Hall, the Douluo Hall sits at the mountain's summit, its presence austere, yet undeniably majestic. Unlike the grand, ornate chambers of the Pope Hall below, this sanctuary is built from unadorned stone, its bare walls conveying solemn power rather than gilded splendor. At the center of the hall stands a colossal statue of a six-winged angel, its towering form carved from pure gold. At over 10 meters high, the angel exudes a sacred radiance. 3 pairs of massive wings unfurl behind it, and in its right hand it brandishes a great golden sword, its tip raised defiantly toward the heavens. Flickering around the blade are sinuous, flame-like streams of molten light, an ethereal fire that seems almost alive. A similar angelic figure guards the entrance to the Pope Hall down below, but compared side by side, that statue feels hollow, an empty likeness of the true power embodied here. Where the Douluo Hall's angel crackles with holy light and purifying fire, the one at the lower gate remains lifeless, little more than cold metal. Reaching this lofty sanctuary means climbing thousands of stone steps hewn into the mountain's flank, each step steeped in the hush of reverence. As Bibi Dong ascended, her face tightened with suppressed fury. Each level brought her closer to the source of her outrage and to the blazing, righteous might represented by the golden angel's sword. Above her, at the very peak, lay the heart of Spirit Hall's power, the place where only the mightiest Douluo dared to tread. And Bibi Dong's indignant resolve burned hotter than any sacred flame. A dark hunger churned in her chest, a restless urge to tear apart everything in her path. It was the legacy of the Rakshasa god awakening within her, an inheritance she could no more deny than she could the blood in her veins. In the age-old struggle of deities, the Rakshasa god stood as the perfect foil to the angel god. Where angels embodied light and justice, vowing with their holy swords to eradicate suffering and sin, the Rakshasa god wielded wrath and malice, master of every shadowed impulse and vengeful killing in the world. From the first moment she encountered Qianxunji, the beastly god's cruelty shattered her innocence. His savage assault against her fellow disciple, Bibi Dong, inflamed a darkness she never knew she possessed. In her fury, she consumed Qianxunji's essence, and in doing so, unlocked the secret path to the Rakshasa realm. That act of violence triggered the divine examination that would determine her fate as the next Rakshasa god. By embracing that terrible inheritance, she placed herself irrevocably at odds with the angelic host. Their bonds shattered, their trust evaporated. The angels saw only darkness in her soul. But she had learned that the world needed more than unyielding light. Wherever light flourishes, so too must shadow, and she, as Rakshasa god, would give shape to that balance, however fearsome her methods might be. The angel god seeks to rid the world of suffering. The Rakshasa god exists to inflict it. Bibi Dong, embodiment of the Rakshasa, came to Douluo Palace with 2 clear objectives. First, to enrage Qian Daoliu, whose son, Qianxunji, she had secretly slain, and second, to ensure that everyone's eyes would fall on the name Tang San. Although she was the true murderer, the rumors always blamed Tang Hao. Bibi Dong held no personal grudge against Tang Hao, but she knew that if a prodigy with a blood debt grew to maturity, the Wuhun Palace could suffer irreparable loss, and she would never allow that. At present, however, she was confined to the god test stage and could not unleash her full might. Her titled Douluo subordinates were skilled but far from invincible. If even one of them faltered, the scandal would devastate her influence. She needed a plan that left her power intact, so she spun a trap and passed the choice to Qian Daoliu himself. If he wished to avenge his son, he would strike at the Tang family, and Bibi Dong's hidden forces would watch from the shadows, ready to seize the moment. If he refused, Bibi Dong's facade would hold, and the Tang name would remain unsullied, at least for now. Either way, the outcome would be the same. Father and son, Tang Hao and Tang San, would pay with their lives. Just as Bibi Dong and Zhu Douluo Yueguan reached the great gates of the Douluo Hall, the massive doors, which had stood sealed moments before, swept open on a sudden gust of unseen air. No sooner had they set foot on the threshold than a suffocating wave of soul power slammed into them like a tidal breaker. Zhu Douluo Yueguan, far weaker of the two, crumpled to his knee, his face paling. "Bibi Dong," he gasped, voice quivering, "you can't just barge into the Douluo Hall. Without the Grand Worshipper's authorization, none of us has the right to enter." Before they could exchange another word, a thunderous shout echoed from within. An elderly man emerged from the hall's depths, every inch the image of authority, snow-white hair and beard, and a robe of burnished gold threaded with silver. That golden vestment marked him unmistakably as a worshipper, a rank far loftier than the black robes of ordinary Soul Douluo or the red of the elders. "It's the second priest," Yueguan whimpered, sweat beading on his brow. He was a level 95 Super Douluo, but facing this level 98 Golden Crocodile Douluo, he didn't dare even attempt resistance. In the presence of such overwhelming soul power, simply standing felt impossible. Bibi Dong halted just inside the threshold, her expression calm. The second priest's gaze swept over her, measuring and unblinking. The courtyard lay silent, the very air charged with expectation. Here at the heart of the Douluo Hall, no secret could stay hidden, and no visitor could claim immunity from its warden's scrutiny. Since achieving the rank of titled Douluo, every single level difference became an insurmountable chasm, and beyond level 95, the disparity in soul power looms like a mountain. A mere 3-level gap is enough for the Golden Crocodile Douluo to crush a Ju Douluo like an insect. "How dare you! I am the Pope!" Bibi Dong's eyes turned ice cold. With a thunderous crash, she drove her golden scepter into the polished steps. The impact echoed like cannon fire, and a wave of soul energy, equal in might to the Golden Crocodile's, exploded outward in blinding white light. The specially forged stone under the scepter spider-webbed with cracks. At the same moment, a frigid current of soul force swept around Douluo Yueguan, lifting him bodily off his feet. Even though Bibi Dong could not yet unleash her full power, she had to remind everyone, especially a trusted right-hand man like Yue Guan, of exactly who held the true authority here. Bibi Dong, just as the high priest warned. The Golden Crocodile Douluo's eyes narrowed, and with a deliberate motion, he withdrew the intimidating weight of his 98-level soul force. "Tell me, Bibi Dong," he said coldly, "what brings you to the Douluo Hall?" Her lips curved into a frosty smile. "I've come to speak with the high priest about some urgent matters." A mocking chuckle escaped him as he folded his arms behind his back. "The high priest is busy, you know. You don't simply drop in on him whenever you please." As the second-ranking worshipper of the hall, second only to Qian Daoliu, he had never taken her seriously. If not for the chief worshipper's insistence, she'd never have been appointed pontiff of the Spirit Hall. Bibi Dong's eyes flashed with indignation. Since she assumed her new title, who dared to treat her so disrespectfully? Humiliated before the Golden Crocodile Douluo, she fought to keep her composure. Beneath that calm exterior, her fury simmered, threatening to erupt. Pope Bibi Dong's eyes burned with silent fury as she stood before the Golden Crocodile Douluo. He was, without question, the most devoted lapdog of the Angel clan, and when she ascended to godhood, she swore she would obliterate every last one of them. Yet now was not the time for outbursts. Drawing a steadying breath, Bibi Dong clenched her golden scepter, tamped down her soul power, and spoke with icy politeness. "Great priest, I know you're watching. Am I to understand that you refuse me entry?" The Golden Crocodile Douluo smirked at her veiled challenge. His sole purpose had been to cow her into submission, and clearly she'd risen to the bait. With a satisfied nod, he turned on his heel and strode back toward the vast, rune-etched doors of the Douluo Hall. "You may enter," he intoned. At his words, a soft, lilting voice drifted from within the hall. Bibi Dong's heart skipped, but she forced a calm expression. Steeling herself, she lifted her chin and glided forward, each step measured and composed. From the shadowed threshold, Douluo Yueguan watched her approach, noting how even beneath that serene facade, a storm of power and purpose still raged. He couldn't shake the thought, could the Pope have reached the legendary realm as well? Across the entire Douluo Continent, only 3 people had ever attained that level. 2 of them were revered as the twin pillars of the Soul Master world, immovable, insurmountable mountains. The third wasn't even a land Soul Master, yet her power eclipsed every other Soul Master, earning her the title of demigod throughout the realm. Chapter 27, Qian Daoliu's Opinion. When Bibi Dong stepped through the gates of Douluo Hall, her eyes were immediately drawn to the towering seraph statue at its center, and to the blond, middle-aged man standing beneath it. Ever since the Rakshasa god's trial, her sensitivity to seraphim auras had increased tenfold. To her astonishment, the angelic figure before her was not mere sculpture, but a vessel for the angel god's divine power. "Qiandalu," she murmured under her breath, "no wonder you carry yourself with such confidence. You've been tapping into the angel god's might all along. I truly underestimated you." Drawing her gaze away, she regarded the man more coolly. Before she could speak, Qiandalu's voice echoed through the hall. "Bibi Dong, ever since you became Pope of Wuhun Palace, you've never once set foot in the Douluo Palace I oversee. If this place displeases you so, why force yourself here?" With that, he took a single, effortless stride forward. Golden light shimmered around him as he closed the distance between them, his calm smile betraying none of the power that pulsed through the statue above. Bibi Dong met his approach with measured composure, intrigued and wary to see what he would do next. Bibi Dong stepped forward without a hint of nervousness, her dark eyes steady as she inclined her head. "You're in good health today, great worshipper," she said, her voice calm and measured. "I've come to remind you of one thing. Tang Hao, the man who grievously injured your son before escaping, has a child." For a moment, Qiandalu's composure wavered. Then, as though recalling a buried memory, he straightened and regarded her coolly. "There was indeed a child when Tang Hao fled," he admitted. "But is that truly why you've come all this way?" With a faint smile, Bibi Dong drew a sealed dossier from within her robes. She extended it toward him, the official emblem of Ju Douluo, Yueguan, stamped on its cover. "See for yourself," she said. Qiandalu accepted the file, breaking the seal and leafing through its contents. Detailed annotations charting Hao's life and the boy who had accompanied him, every known movement, every battle, every setback. But it was the closing pages that caught his full attention. The records listed a pair of suspected twin martial spirits and, remarkably, an undeveloped blue-silver grass bloodline. As he absorbed the implications, Qiandalu's face grew grave. He met Bibi Dong's gaze, nodding slowly. "This changes everything," he murmured. "Thank you for bringing it to my attention." Tang San was born with the blue-silver grass martial soul, and with it, full soul power. His father, Tang Hao, arrived at the Holy Soul Village 6 years ago and is rumored to possess twin martial souls. "What? You actually want to send a 6-year-old child to the Holy Soul Village? Kill him off now," Qiandalu said with a chuckle. "The great worshipper truly relies on me for everything." Bibi Dong's eyes glittered, but her voice remained calm. "I can't allow a twin-soul genius, heir to the Wuhun Palace blood feud, to survive. With Tang Hao's reckless nature, his son will inevitably rise up and try to overthrow the Wuhun Palace. Even the great worshipper won't be able to stop him then." Qiandalu turned his back on Bibi Dong and looked up at the angel statue dominating the hall. His expression was cool and detached. "So this is why you came to Douluo Hall. If you've already decided to eliminate him, why bother informing me?" Bibi Dong's lips curved into a mocking smile as she surveyed the assembled Spirit Hall members. "Your mighty Pope's palace can't even handle a 6-year-old, she scoffed. "Afraid of Tang Hao, so you're grasping at straws to find me?" She tilted her head, voice cool and unhurried. "Let me be clear. Tang Hao and I have no personal enmity. My only purpose in coming to Douluo Hall was to warn you. If you have no plan to stop me, then I'll be on my way." With that, she spun on her heel and strode toward the hall's grand doors. Inside, whispers rippled through the court. Qiandalu, the true power behind the Spirit Hall, had shown no urgency in eliminating Tang San, and as the would-be pope of the Rakshasa path, Bibi Dong felt equally unpressured. Once she completed the Rakshasa divine examination, who on Douluo Continent would dare stand against her? Qiandalu? Tang Hao? Or that child, Tang San, doomed, she believed, to fall long before her ascension to godhood. Just as she reached the threshold, a calm voice broke the tension. Luo, his eyes steady, called after her. "Bibi Dong, you may think you're invincible, but you're wrong." She paused, her confidence flickering for the first time, and turned back to face him, ready to hear what he had to say. "There's no direct blood feud between you and Tang Hao," Qiandalu said suddenly, his tone like frost, "but in a way, you should be thanking him." Bibi Dong was halfway through the doorway of Douluo Hall when she turned, a faint smile curving her lips. "Thanks for the reminder," she drawled, her voice silk over steel. She offered him a sideways glance, delicate, haughty, and added, "It's not my child who died after all." A chill seemed to follow her as she swept past them without another word. "Brother, she's unbelievable." Golden Crocodile Douluo snapped, his voice thick with anger. "Second brother, let it go," Chandalu replied calmly, meeting his brother's glare without flinching. "She's only indulging in her usual venom. We needn't take her seriously." Golden Crocodile Douluo huffed, but fell silent. Chandalu, however, knew exactly what Bibi Dong had meant. Though Tang Hao had grievously wounded Qian Shunji, it was Bibi Dong who had delivered the fatal blow. Chandalu's lips curled in disdain as he considered Bibi Dong. Were she not the mother of his cherished daughter, Qian Renshui, he would have cut her down with his angelic holy sword long ago. Stripped of that vital connection, all her talents would count for nothing. There'd be no way for her to advance Wuhundian, especially since the Qian clan has no legitimate heirs. Without Qian Renshui, why bother keeping Bibi Dong alive? Everything she's done was ultimately for the sake of weaving a wedding dress for his daughter. And what of the Tang family? Father and son, the elder Tang and Tang San with his twin martial souls. They mean even less to him. With a flick of his fingers, Chandalu could crush them like insects, yet he hardly spares a thought for such ants beneath his heel. But today, Bibi Dong's performance unnerved him. As an Olympian servant of the angel god, Chandalu could sense a dark, malevolent aura surrounding her, an unmistakable signature of forces opposed to his divine master. It seemed she had become the chosen successor in some unholy god's trial. And Qian Renshui, his precious little girl, was still so young, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering at their doorstep. Even Chandalu couldn't guarantee that Qian Renshui would earn the angel god's favor and ultimately pass the 9 angelic trials to inherit the deity's mantle. Until Qian Renshui's prospects were certain, he dared not move against Bibi Dong. After all, the spirit hall still needed her at its head. But once Qian Renshui's destiny was sealed, the title of Spirit Hall Pope, and with it full control of the hall, would belong solely to him. Bibi Dong existed only as a means to that end. From beginning to finish, the Spirit Hall would remain a Qian family domain, its very name bearing their legacy. "You want to use me to eliminate the Tang Patriarch and his son," Qian Renshui said coldly. "But have you ever stopped to think that I'm the one who can secure your future? Why would I betray the second twin martial spirit prodigy?" Bibi Dong merely laughed. "Spare me the righteous act. The truth is you hate Xiao Shui. Nothing more, nothing less. To keep her out of your sight, you even made her squander precious training hours on a covert mission in the Tiandou Empire. You never stopped to consider that she volunteered only to prove herself to you, her mother, that she isn't the useless child you've allowed, ways dismissed. Every danger she faced, every sacrifice she made, was driven by her desperate need for your approval. It's a shame none of Xiao Shui's efforts ever reached your eyes. As her grandfather, surely I have the right to avenge her, for my granddaughter's sake, don't I?" When Bibi Dong remained silent, Chandalu turned his gaze upward, his eyes reflecting the faint golden glow of the 10-meter-tall angel statue above them. For Qian Renshui, he would do anything, even if it meant razing the spirit hall to the ground. All that mattered was her ascension to godhood. Once she became a true goddess, no force on the Douluo Continent would be able to challenge the spirit hall's supremacy. Chapter 28. Cheng Xiao vs. Tang San, Part 1. Notting City, Soulmaster Junior College. A month had passed in the blink of an eye. During that time, Cheng Xiao had diligently trained with his first soul ring, mastering all the active skills it conferred, throwing daggers, rapid footwork, and precise vital point strikes. At first, each technique felt unfamiliar, but with every practice session, his movements grew more confident, more refined. What once required intense focus now came almost instinctively. Today, Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu returned to the city's finest blacksmith, their pockets lined with the second month's Soulmaster stipend. As they stepped inside, the clang of hammer on anvil rang out, then fell silent as the smith set down his tools. Before him lay 2 freshly forged daggers, each blade etched with intricate, winding patterns that gleamed in the forge light. Cheng Xiao lifted the first dagger, weighing it in his hand. It felt substantial, yet balanced with uncanny precision. He switched to the second blade, letting the edge slice through the air in a smooth arc. He tested its balance, flipped it between his fingers, and nodded in approval. These feel incredible, Cheng Xiao said with a grin. Perfect weight and grip. The blacksmith wiped his brow and chuckled. Little brother, I'm no expert. I just follow the recipe. But I heard these designs come from the legendary Black Desert sect. They say the lines guide the spirit of the blade, making it both heavy and agile. Cheng Xiao handed over the payment without hesitation. With 2 masterfully crafted daggers at his waist, he and Xiao Wu left the smithy, eager to continue their training and to face whatever challenges awaited them next. It was no small feat forging these 2 daggers. If not for that young blacksmith in our shop, we'd still be hammering away at them, the forge master admitted, wiping soot from his brow. Xiao Wu, standing beside Cheng Xiao, tilted her head in surprise. Young blacksmith? Boss, do you mean Tang San, the Nodding Academy student? I've heard his skills are remarkable. The forge master slapped his forehead in mild embarrassment. How could I forget? You 2 are from Nodding College as well, aren't you? Cheng Xiao smiled. Indeed. Tang San is our newest smith. Don't be fooled by his age. His casting prowess rivals that of any veteran craftsman. Thanks to him, these daggers were finished right on schedule. The forge master nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. He's earned his place among us seasoned hands. Cheng Xiao then drew 2 freshly minted gold soul coins from his sleeve and placed them on the counter. Here are this month's 2 coins, boss. We have 3 months left on our agreement, so 6 more coins to come. All right. The blacksmith shop owner took the gold soul coin Cheng Xiao offered, placed it on his scales, and, once he'd confirmed its weight and authenticity, slipped it into his money pouch. Let's head back, boss, Cheng Xiao said to Xiao Wu with a smile. I'll pay next month's rent up front today. Gently, he slid the 2 newly forged daggers into their scabbards, then, out of habit, took Xiao Wu's hand as they turned to leave. Just then, Tang San emerged from the forge, wiping soot from his forearms. After a quick nod to the proprietor, he hurried over to block their path. He leaned in and lowered his voice. Cheng Xiao, I had no idea you designed those blades yourself. Would you be free to discuss them behind the academy this afternoon? I've been looking forward to this chat for more than a month. Ever since Tang San had displayed his uncanny smithing talent, handling the roaring furnaces and hammering hot steel with ease, the entire shop had thrown its resources into forging these 2 daggers. At first, Tang San had been puzzled. After all, they were just daggers. Why had the shop dedicated every craftsman and every hour of the day to their creation? Now, meeting Cheng Xiao's gaze, he was eager to learn the answer. When Tang San first stepped in to help with the dagger orders, he discovered that forge masters weren't struggling because the blades were hard to make, but because several fine points hadn't been worked out yet. Those little details were slowing everything down, until Tang San lent a hand. With his skill, the 2 daggers flew into shape in half the time. He was even more intrigued when he learned the blades were destined for 2 children. Who were they, and what did they need such finely crafted weapons for? So when Cheng Xiao arrived to pick them up that afternoon, Tang San seized the chance to ask. Come on back to the forge, he called. Cheng Xiao paused at the doorway, his expression calm. Actually, I was planning to test my current strength, he said. Well, you're in luck, Tang San replied with a grin. Come by the back hill of the academy this afternoon, as soon as I'm done here. Cheng Xiao nodded once. I'll see you then. After leaving the blacksmith shop, Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu spent the rest of the afternoon in Nodding City, sampling street foods and enjoying the bustling evening market. By the time dusk settled over the streets, they made their way back to the academy and climbed the winding path up to the hills behind it. The lanterns strung along the stone walls cast a soft glow over the courtyard where Tang San waited, the 2 gleaming daggers laid out on a flat boulder beside him. As Cheng Xiao approached, Tang San held one blade by its curved guard and said, "Take your pick. Let's see what you can do." With a nod, Cheng Xiao drew both daggers, their steel singing as they cut through the twilight air. And so their informal duel began, the graceful clash of blades echoing across the hills, each strike a measure of Cheng Xiao's strength, and the questions Tang San still hoped to have answered. When Cheng Xiao finally reached the back slopes, she spotted Tang San waiting beneath a massive oak. He must have been there quite some time. "There you are," Tang San said, relief and a touch of reproach in his voice. He'd cleared his schedule for this meetup, yet Cheng Xiao was almost an hour late. Still, he was glad she'd come. Cheng Xiao offered a sheepish smile. Sorry, I got held up hanging out with Xiao Wu. Tang San's eyes softened. Together, they moved into the clearing. With a quiet word, Tang San summoned his martial spirit. Name, Tang San. Spirit, blue-silver grass. Level 13th. Classification, control-type battle spirit master. A gentle white glow bathed him. He raised his right hand, and slender blue-silver vines unfurled at his feet. At the same moment, a pale yellow spirit ring emerged, hovering around him in steady, rhythmic pulses. Cheng Xiao, Shadow Soldier as a martial soul, a 13th level, first-tier battle soul master, stood before Tang San, two freshly forged daggers gripped in his hands. The soft hiss of steel sliding from its sheaths drew a flicker of seriousness across Tang San's face. With a low, urgent shout only he could hear, Cheng Xiao sprang into motion. His body blurred into a gust of wind, surging forward with astonishing speed. In the space of a heartbeat, he had closed the gap between them. Tang San's eyes widened. He'd expected feints or subtlety, not a straight-on charge that matched even his own ghost shadow horse pace. Instinctively, Tang San shambled back several paces, desperate for distance. Immediately, the first ring on his soul necklace glowed, and a cluster of thick, blue-silver grass sprouted from the ground beneath his feet, twisting up like living shackles to ensnare Cheng Xiao's advance. Cheng Xiao didn't even hesitate. Unfazed by the writhing vines, he pressed on, daggers poised for the kill. The veins along Cheng Xiao's forearms stood out as he wielded his twin blades, weaving them together into a crackling wave of light that tore through the blue-silver grass like a bolt of lightning. He stepped forward and brought the swords down in a deadly arc toward Tang San. Tang San's eyes narrowed. He splayed his fingers in the Tang sect's signature talon posture, invoking the crane captures dragon technique. Instant, an invisible force rippled out from his hands. Cheng Xiao felt that unseen tug and, without hesitation, flung a throwing knife at Tang San. The blade streaked through the air like a flash of silver, aiming straight for Tang San's chest. The instant before impact, Tang San thrust his palm forward, pale as jade and wreathed in a rush of frigid air, in an attempt to snatch the knife out of the sky. But the knife's momentum was overwhelming. It slammed into Tang San's palm with bone-shaking force, and he staggered backward, skidding across the grass. He managed to regain his balance only after 10 paces, face grim with the shock of the blade's power. Tang San's pulse quickened as he watched the short sword streak toward him. The force behind that single strike was astonishing, on par with the Tang sect's most lethal hidden weapons. He could hardly believe it. Could Cheng Xiao's blade truly be powered by genuine innate skill? Fortunately, Tang San's Xuanyu hand flared to life just in time, creating a shimmering barrier that absorbed the blow. Had it not been for that defense, the sword would have sliced clean through him. He staggered back, eyes narrowing as he studied his opponent. There was no finesse to Cheng Xiao's attack, only raw, reckless power. Tang San knew better than to meet such brute force in close quarters. By the weight of that strike, his adversary's strength clearly exceeded his own. A plan formed in Tang San's mind: maintain his distance and strike from afar. In the art of tactics, he trusted himself above all. With a steady breath, he readied his next move, one that would force Cheng Xiao to pay for his overconfidence. Chapter 29. Tang San almost wins. The first soul skill. Entanglement. As they pulled apart, Tang San let out a quiet breath. His newly acquired soul ring glowed beneath his feet, and thick strands of blue-silver grass burst from the ground, twisting and lashing out at Cheng Xiao like living tentacles. Cheng Xiao held his dagger in a single steady hand. Black mist billowed from his body, coalescing into dark purple sparks along the blade's edge. With a sharp hiss, he swung the dagger, sending slivers of inky light racing toward Tang San. The moment the black sword energy met the blue grass, the vines snapped and shredded into countless fragments. Tang San's eyes widened in surprise. Had that shadowy flare been Cheng Xiao's first soul skill? He'd never glimpsed Cheng Xiao releasing any soul power before. Could his opening move actually be a weapon enchantment? Although his blue-silver grass martial spirit was naturally a plant type, the moment it gained a spirit ring, its vines had toughened beyond the reach of ordinary spirit masters. Yet Cheng Xiao cut through them without effort. Clearly, his first soul skill was a potent self-buff. Black mist coiled about his body, giving him the grim presence of a reaper, dark purple light flickering in his eyes, the swirling haze burning like obsidian flame. Laoyan, fall back! Tang San activated his purple devil eyes. A faint violet glow kindled in his irises as his left hand caressed the blade of 24 Bridge Moon, and his right gathered more than a dozen silver needles. In the next instant, he unleashed his hidden weapon technique, launching every needle in a deadly volley aimed at Cheng Xiao's shoulders, calves, and midsection. Run! Cheng Xiao caught sight of the cold flashes slicing toward him. With a silent roar in his mind, he surged forward at lightning speed, closing the distance to Tang San in a heartbeat, and flung a dagger straight for Tang San's chest. He's planning to trade injuries with me, Cheng Xiao muttered, heart pounding as he activated sprint. In an instant, his speed spiked like a cheetah's, far beyond what Tang San, despite using the purple demon eye, had anticipated. Such a reckless tactic could easily turn deadly. To avoid a fatal blow, Tang San summoned Ghost Shadow and vanished in a swirl of mist just as Cheng Xiao's dagger whistled past. In that split second, he readied his silver needles, convinced that a single strike would end the duel. But reality refused to cooperate. Tang San, you lose, Cheng Xiao called out, accelerating again mid-air. As the silver needles hurtled toward him, the corners of his mouth curved into a confident smirk. Shadow power erupted around his body, coalescing into a dark shield that shattered every needle on contact. Over the past month, Cheng Xiao's skill had evolved far beyond mere technique. He had unlocked a new level of shadow mastery. Now he could channel shadow into any part of his form at will, crafting it into both weapon and armor. That effortless control rendered his defense unbreakable. Tang San's eyes flashed with surprise and respect. The shift in momentum was unmistakable. Cheng Xiao landed lightly behind him. The battlefield suddenly hushed, tension crackling in the air. Offering a steady hand, Cheng Xiao said, "Well fought. Ready for another round?" A slow grin spread across Tang San's face as he drew in a steady breath. Always. Tang San's eyes darkened. He stared at Cheng Xiao, who hovered there almost engulfed in swirling black mist. His hidden weapons, every single one, had simply bounced off the mist's defensive barrier. His soul skills were just as useless. He wouldn't give up so easily. Drawing on every ounce of inner strength from the Tang sect's Xuantian technique, Tang San activated Ghost Shadow Trace and the Confusion skill, hoping to dodge Cheng Xiao's next strike. But at such close range, even his most cunning tricks failed to shield him. "Hit the vital point," Cheng Xiao roared. His mist-shrouded fist rocketed forward and smashed into Tang San's abdomen. Tang San gasped, shock and pain flooding him. "Impossible, my Ghost Shadow Trace." The blow landed with a bone-shaking thud and sent him flying 10 meters through the air like a cannonball. He crashed to the ground and rolled once before coming to rest, clutching his stomach. Every breath was agony, his face contorted in pain. Cheng Xiao landed lightly a few paces away. He tilted his head, expression apologetic. "Sorry, when I spar, I tend to give it my all." He folded his arms and regarded Tang San with a wry half-smile. But Tang San, teeth clenched, was already forcing himself to rise. This fight was far from over. Cheng Xiao knelt, retrieved the two fallen swords, and slid them back into their scabbards. Rising without a flicker of emotion, she reached out to help Tang San to his feet. Tang San pressed a hand to his midsection, then waved off her concern with the other. "I gave it my all. That's the only proper way to show respect to your opponent. Today, I lost this spar." He straightened, determination bright in his eyes. "But with my master's careful guidance, it won't be long before I discover a technique powerful enough to defeat you." Cheng Xiao offered a small, approving nod. Placing a hand on his shoulder, she said calmly, "I have no doubt of that, Tang San. Your master may be more of a theorist than a frontline powerhouse, but his insight is unmatched among soul masters. Study under him, as you do now, and you'll surpass even me one day." Tang San blinked, taken aback by her confidence. For a moment, he said nothing, simply meeting Cheng Xiao's serene gaze. She broke the silence with a soft smile. "Well fought. I should head back to the dormitory and rest." Without another word, Cheng Xiao turned and walked away, her composure unwavering. Left standing in the clearing, Tang San watched her go, resolve coalescing in his heart. He would not be defeated for long. Tang San watched Cheng Xiao's retreating figure until she disappeared from sight. He drew in a slow, steady breath, a faint purple light flaring in his eyes. Clenching his fists at his sides, he murmured to himself, "I will beat you no matter what." That evening, in their shared quarters, Xiao Wu was stretched out in the middle of the bunk beds, which had been pushed together, when Cheng Xiao returned from the shower. Her bright, curious eyes followed him as he toweled off the last droplets of water from his hair. "Cheng Xiao," she asked, propping herself up on an elbow, "between you and Tang San, who do you think would win?" Cheng Xiao paused, towel in hand, and gave her a playful grin. "Mountain King? That title's not mine to claim, yet." Xiao Wu pouted, scooting to the center of the bunk and patting the mattress beside her. "You boys are so formal," she teased. "Come on over, let Sister Xiao Wu dry you off." Cheng Xiao blinked, taken aback by her bold invitation, and for a moment simply stood there, unsure what to do next. Feeling the other girls' curious stares in the dorm, Cheng Xiao felt his cheeks burn. He cleared his throat, trying to sound nonchalant. No, I've got it. I can wipe it off myself." Xiao Wu smirked, a hint of displeasure in her eyes. She snorted softly and tugged the quilt, kicked off earlier, back over her legs. "Fine," she teased, "but if you can't get it completely clean, I'm not letting you under the covers tonight." Cheng Xiao stared at her, baffled. "What?" He leaned in close, dropping his voice so only she could hear. "Do you know what you're saying?" Xiao Wu's face turned bright red. She stammered, It's your fault. I don't know." Cheng Xiao chuckled and gently brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "Probably for the best. That line would cause a million rumors." "Right, of course," she muttered, nodding vigorously. She burrowed under the quilt until only the top of her head peeked out. Tilted her head, she asked, "So, who actually won? You never told me." He shrugged, a teasing glint in his eyes. "I almost let Tang San win." Xiao Wu's lips curved into a playful smile. "Heh, you're just being modest," she teased. "Even Tang San can't beat me, so there's no way he could take you down." Her companions laughed in agreement. "That's right, nobody's better than you." Xiao Wu let out a soft, triumphant chuckle. "Ha! It's about time someone acknowledged just how strong I really am." Chapter 30. The Future of Soul Beasts. 2 years had passed in the blink of an eye. Cheng Xiao's soul power index had now surpassed level 20. Although he no longer needed to hunt soul beasts for soul rings, having already established himself as a top-tier expert, he still patrolled the soul beast forest from time to time. The excursions served a dual purpose. They kept his skills honed and ensured the safety of travelers and nearby settlements. Whenever Cheng Xiao returned home on vacation, he never left without Xiao Wu. She had become his constant companion on these trips back to Chengjia village. Yet, thanks to the unpredictable ripple effects of the butterfly effect, Tang San and Xiao Wu no longer shared the deep bond they once enjoyed in the original timeline. Today, they were little more than ordinary classmates. There was no lingering childhood intimacy, only polite smiles exchanged in the corridors of Nuodu Academy. Tang San wasn't blind to this change. His master had explicitly charged him with cultivating a friendship, or perhaps something deeper, with Xiao Wu. But after a lifetime as a hidden weapon master who had scarcely spoken to a woman, Tang San found the assignment mortifying. Every time he tried to strike up a conversation, his words came out stilted, his cheeks burned, and he ended up awkwardly fumbling for topics. Meanwhile, Xiao Wu politely listened, but her eyes betrayed a polite distance. Cheng Xiao watched the two of them with mild amusement. He'd long since mastered the art of soul confinement and battled dozens of powerful beasts, yet he still couldn't read some of life's simplest human interactions. As he led Xiao Wu along the winding dirt road back to Chengjia, he decided not to meddle, at least for now. After all, every relationship unfolds at its own pace, and perhaps in time, Tang San would learn to speak from the heart. For Cheng Xiao, the future held uncharted territory as vast as the Soul Beast Forest itself. He had reached new heights of power, but his greatest challenge remained the unpredictable twists of fate and the people who walked beside him. Although Tang San and Cheng Xiao had grown distant, they hadn't formally broken up. They still exchanged polite greetings whenever they crossed paths. and neither ever dared mention what happened in the soul-hunting forest. They both understood that if that secret ever surfaced, their relationship would shatter completely. This time, when Cheng Xiao prepared to head out on a soul-hunting expedition, he didn't invite any of the Academy's instructors to accompany him. Instead, he spent the gold soul coins he'd saved over 2 years to rent a sturdy carriage and departed Nodding City with only Xiao Wu at his side. Cheng Xiao didn't mind Xiao Wu tagging along. He was fully capable of felling soul beasts on his own and didn't need an escort to claim their soul rings. If she wanted to witness the hunt for herself, fine, she probably fancied herself as one of the soul beasts anyway. Cheng Xiao? Xiao Wu asked with bright curiosity as the carriage rolled along the rough road to Stardow Forest. Which soul beast are you planning to hunt this time? Cheng Xiao turned away from the passing fields outside the carriage window and met Xiao Wu's curious gaze. Calmly, he said, "We'll talk about it when we arrive. I haven't decided yet." Xiao Wu blinked in surprise at his answer and fell silent. She propped her cheek against her hand, drew back the curtain, and watched the countryside drift by. In 2 years, Cheng Xiao had raised his soul power to the 7th level, an astonishing feat. Yet he still hadn't settled on which soul beast to hunt for his next ring. Nearly every soul master mentally pins down the beast's type and abilities long before the hunt begins, ensuring they claim the perfect ring as soon as they enter the wilds. Cheng Xiao's nonchalance baffled her. As the carriage rolled on toward Nodding City, Xiao Wu weighed her options. This stretch of road was remote, no soul beasts in sight, and the journey would take days by carriage. Cheng Xiao Kli intended to spend the time cultivating rather than scouting for rings. She considered revealing her true identity to him, hoping the secret might explain his unusual approach. But in the end, she decided against it. After all, they still had plenty of time to talk, and plenty of time for Cheng Xiao to level up before they reached their destination. He still hadn't condensed his second soul ring, so his soul power level remained unchanged. A week later, the carriage that had set out from Nodding City came to a halt at a small town on the edge of the Star Forest. Night was closing in, and since they wouldn't reach their intended destination before dark, Cheng Xiao told the driver to make camp here for the night and enter the forest at first light. Stepping into the town, Cheng Xiao was struck by how lively it was, easily 3 times the size of Nodding City, yet it lacked any walls or guards, giving it the relaxed air of a common market town. On both sides of the broad street, row upon row of shops catered to soul masters and beast hunters, armorers displaying gleaming breastplates, apothecaries with window shelves full of detoxifying and restorative potions, and tailors whose mannequins wore robes threaded with arcane sigils. The variety was astounding. Xiao Wu tugged on Cheng Xiao's sleeve and pointed ahead. "Let's stay at that inn tonight," she said, nodding toward a lantern-lit sign dangling above a welcoming wooden doorway. Cheng Xiao smiled. "Good idea. We'll set out for the Star Forest at dawn." He handed the reins to the coachman and followed Xiao Wu inside, eager to rest before the trials to come. "I'm exhausted after that week on the road," Xiao Wu groaned, sinking gratefully onto a wooden bench in the inn's taproom. Cheng Xiao gave a sympathetic nod. "Same here." He straightened and headed to the reception desk. Moments later, the clerk slid a single room key across the counter. Cheng Xiao paused. "I was going to reserve a double." "Don't," Xiao Wu interrupted, looping her arm through his. "We're low on coin. 1 room will do just fine. After 2 years of sharing a bed, this won't be any different." He hesitated, then shrugged. "All right. Now," she said with a mischievous grin, "let's eat." They found a quiet corner of the taproom, and before long, a serving girl arrived to take their order. Plates of hearty stew, crusty bread, and a jug of ale followed in short order. They ate slowly, savoring the warmth and the chance to sit still for a while. When they'd finished, Cheng Xiao led Xiao Wu up the creaking staircase to the 2nd floor. He unlocked the door to their room, a simple space with a single large bed, a small table, and a wash basin, and they stepped inside. Xiao Wu kicked off her boots and stretched luxuriously. "Finally," she sighed, collapsing onto the mattress. Cheng Xiao placed their cloaks on a nearby hook. He offered her a gentle smile. "Good night, Xiao Wu." "Good night," she replied, already drifting toward restful sleep. Xiao Wu sank gratefully onto the soft mattress. After days confined to the cramped carriage, she relished the luxury of stretching out. Cheng Xiao stood by the window, gathering his cloak. "If you're tired, get some rest," he said over his shoulder. "I'll take a quick shower, and then we head into the Douluo forest tomorrow morning to hunt soul beasts." Xiao Wu frowned, staring up at the ceiling. "Cheng Xiao," she began hesitantly, "do you suppose there's another way for soul masters to gain soul rings without killing soul beasts? A way to raise our soul power that doesn't involve hunting them?" Cheng Xiao paused, rubbing his chin thoughtfully. "There must be," he admitted. "If we could acquire soul rings without shedding beast blood, the whole dynamic between soul masters and soul beasts would change." Her eyes brightened. "Exactly. If we find such a method, killing won't be the only path to power. Soul beasts and soul masters wouldn't be locked in that endless cycle of predator and prey." Cheng Xiao nodded, a determined look in his eyes. "Then, we'll seek out that answer first. Tomorrow's hunt can wait. Maybe there's a more peaceful solution." Aware of Xiao Wu's hopeful smile, Cheng Xiao gave a wry shake of his head. "I wouldn't get too excited," he said softly. "Even if we solve the soul ring crisis, have you thought about what comes next? Soul bones are just as precious, perhaps more so. Once masters no longer need to harvest rings, they'll set their sights squarely on those bones. It won't be as simple as killing a soul beast for its ring anymore. They'll slaughter them just to strip out the bone." He glanced toward the grand spires of Wuhun Palace in the distance. Right now, the palace has outlawed indiscriminate hunting of soul beasts. Yes, they still permit regulated ring hunts, but their oversight keeps even the most ambitious masters in check. Without that restraint, talented soul masters would have every incentive to wipe out entire populations. Cheng Xiao's expression grew solemn. "If the palace were to lift its ban, I'm convinced those creatures would be hunted to extinction within 10,000 years. Once the ring problem is behind us, the bone trade will be the next, and deadlier, gold rush. No matter if soul bones exist or not, soul masters will always find ways to take power from soul beasts," Cheng Xiao said quietly. "That's simply how cultivation works in our world. It isn't something you or I can change on a whim." Xiao Wu said nothing. Her fists clenched so tightly her fingernails bit into her palms, and her voice trembled when she finally spoke. "Then, Cheng Xiao, do you believe it's right for soul masters to hunt soul beasts?" Cheng Xiao met her gaze, calm but unyielding. "Whether it's right or wrong doesn't matter. As long as the system remains the same, the relationship between soul beasts and soul masters won't change. Soul masters need soul rings to grow stronger. If they don't kill the beasts will kill them." A shadow passed over Xiao Wu's face. "But even so, if you compare their rates of advancement, I'm afraid that in 10,000 years there won't be a single soul beast left in the Douluo forest. Their growth isn't proportional. A talented soul master might very well reach the Douluo rank in that time, while a soul beast can't hope to keep pace." She fell silent, the unspoken consequences hanging heavily between them. It might only take decades on paper, but for a soul beast to mount a true challenge against humanity, you'd need 10,000, or even 100,000, years of cultivation. At that rate, soul beasts are bound to become endangered species in the long run, aren't they? Chapter 31. The Arrival of the Titan. Ape Dawn was just brushing the horizon when Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu stepped outside. A pale light suffused the quiet town, and the trees along the lanes stirred in a gentle breeze. Somewhere beyond the rooftops, the first shafts of sunshine pierced the low clouds, scattering gold across dew-slicked cobblestones. After a simple breakfast, the two left the sleepy settlement behind. Before departing, Cheng Xiao purchased a roughly sketched map of the Douluo Great Forest, an invaluable guide in the untamed wilderness ahead. With map in hand, they spurred their mounts and raced southward, eager to breach the forest's edge before the sun climbed too high. As they rode, Xiao Wu chattered cheerfully. It had been 2 years since she'd left the great forest, and nostalgia tugged at her heart. She spoke of the hidden streams and mossy glades, of her family nestled deep within the ancient woods. Each memory set her eyes alight, and her words came tumbling out in a delighted rush. "Do you remember the old swamp path near Moonlight River?" she asked between breezes of laughter. We nearly sank up to our waists that day. Your face was priceless. Cheng Xiao chuckled, but kept the horses at a steady trot. He had heard all these stories before, yet each retelling reminded him why Xiao Wu loved this place so fiercely. Soon, the trees thickened, their trunks like silent sentinels lining the narrow trail. The Douluo Great Forest sprawled across the southern border of the Tiando Empire, its vastness split between two realms, 2/5 under Tiando's rule, 3/5 belonging to the neighboring Xingluo Empire. This primeval wild was a tangle of swamps, wetlands, and ancient groves, terrain as perilous as it was beautiful. They pressed deeper still, where mists curled around massive roots and the air hummed with latent power. Here, nearer the forest's heart, the soul beast grew stronger and more cunning. Even now, far from its center, the forest teemed with creatures that watched them from shadowed niches. Xiao Wu fell silent at last, eyes fixed on the darkening canopy ahead. Cheng Xiao glanced at her, then at the twisted branches above. The forest seemed to breathe around them, stirring with anticipation, and perhaps with unseen eyes hungry for intruders. Together, they urged their mounts onward, toward whatever awaited them in the depths of the Douluo Great Forest. The Douluo Great Forest, one of the three most renowned gathering grounds for soul beasts on the Douluo Continent, lay before them like an endless emerald sea. From their vantage point on a low ridge, Cheng Xiao could see the forest's vast canopy pressing against the sky. A rich, damp scent of loamy earth drifted up on the breeze, reviving after years of dusty corridors and candlelit study halls at the academy. Savoring that, are you? Xiao Wu smiled, inhaling deeply herself. She hadn't ventured back here in ages, and the familiar rhythms of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the distant cry of hidden beasts, filled her with a strange comfort. But she still squared her shoulders and addressed the one matter on her mind. Cheng Xiao, once you claim your second soul ring, let's not go any deeper. The further we go, the more dangerous it becomes. He met her gaze. It was true. To a powerful and lucky soul master, forests like this could yield ring after ring. But the Douluo Great Forest was notorious for its hidden predators and lethal terrain. Xiao Wu, though human, was protected by her spirit beasts, Daming and Erming. Cheng Xiao, by contrast, was only a level 20 Great Soul Master. No matter how much he'd grown, a single miscalculation here could mean the end of his journey and his life. He nodded, steeling himself. Understood, let's move carefully. And with that, they slipped from the ridge into the shadowed greenness, every step taking them deeper into the heart of the primeval wilds. Cheng Xiao spread the map open beneath the looming canopy of the Xingdo Great Forest. Xiao Wu, he teased, tracing a finger along the twisting trails. This is our first time out here, so how come you already seem to know the place better than I do? Xiao Wu froze, her heart pounding. She glanced at the dark trunks and tangled undergrowth that surrounded them, exactly the kinds of features Cheng Xiao pointed out. Should she confess her true identity, or invent a plausible explanation for her uncanny familiarity? Her lips parted as she searched for an excuse, but nothing came. Ashamed, she lowered her gaze. Cheng Xiao watched her hesitation and fell silent. If she really knew more than she let on, then brute questioning might only push her away. They pressed deeper into the forest together, the only sound the soft rustle of leaves underfoot. Despite the forest's dread reputation for soul beast ambushes, the two walked for what felt like hours without encountering a single creature. Cheng Xiao suspected the two spirit emperors, whose territories bordered this wood, might already have driven everything dangerous away at the moment they'd stepped through the tree line. The unnatural quiet left him on edge. Just as he was about to shrug off his pack and rest against a mossy oak, the ground shuddered beneath their feet. Without warning, massive trunks cracked and fell, crashing behind a colossal shape that barreled toward them. Branches snapped away as the monster closed the distance in monstrous strides, its eyes glowing like embers in the dim light. Cheng Xiao's pulse quickened, but he didn't flinch. Calmly, he reached out and took Xiao Wu's hand. At his touch, her fear flickered but then steadied. The beast let out a deafening roar, and they planted their feet, braced and ready to face it head-on. Xiao Wu hesitated, studying Cheng Xiao's unreadable expression. She didn't voice her confusion. She felt the warmth radiating from his palm instead. Why was he so calm in the face of an approaching behemoth? Why wasn't he terrified? Had he been born, like her, as a human-formed soul beast? And if so, were there others in the Xingdou Great Forest who'd taken human shape? The questions swirled in her mind until Cheng Xiao gently squeezed her hand and murmured, "They're here to see you. Don't you want to meet your family?" No sooner had he spoken than the source of the earlier rumble loomed before them. At first glance it resembled an enormous black chimpanzee, save for its eyes, each the size of a paper lantern and glowing like yellow crystals. This titan ape wasn't just enormous. Rippling muscles, harder than granite, formed rolling hills beneath its midnight fur. Few could have imagined that a 100,000-year-old soul beast of such staggering power would consider a 100,000-year-old soft-bone rabbit its sister. Yet here it stood, a devoted guardian come at last to escort Xiao Wu into the embrace of her long-lost kin. Cheng Xiao strolled forward and casually called out to the massive creature before them. "Hello, Titan Ape." The ape, an ancient soul beast over 100,000 years old, towered like a mountain. Xiao Wu's eyes flew open at Cheng Xiao's greeting. Hastily, she yanked her hand free from his grip and glared at him. "How do you know he's my kin? Have you recognized who I really am all along?" Cheng Xiao offered her a rueful smile. "You're right, I did. After all, among all the soul masters who can form soul rings without ever hunting a beast, I can think of only one other being, a soul beast that's weathered 100,000 years and crossed over." Xiao Wu's heart skipped. "What did you say?" His words echoed in her mind. Only a century-spanning soul beast could, like a human soul master, produce soul rings without the traditional hunting rites. If that was the case, could Cheng Xiao himself be such a beast in disguise? No, that wasn't possible, yet every instinct in her screamed otherwise. Cheng Xiao rubbed the back of his neck, his expression earnest. "I know it sounds impossible," he began, "but think about it. If I were really a 100,000-year-old soul beast, you should be able to catch that ancient, primal scent on me. Yet, after all the nights we've shared, you've never smelled it. So how can I claim to condense soul rings without ever hunting a single beast?" He took a steadying breath. "Here's the truth. I'm not like other soul masters who must slay soul beasts to grow stronger. I possess a unique power, one that allows me to forge my own soul rings from within. In a sense, I'm your kin, a human reborn as a 100,000-year soul beast, or perhaps a soul beast who has taken on human form." Xiao Wu stared at him, her eyes wide with shock. Before she could reply, a bellow shattered the moment. "Sister Wu, don't waste your time on this human's lies." The Titan giant ape thundered forward, his voice thick with fury. In a single motion, he seized Cheng Xiao and drove him into the ground. Dust billowed around them as the ape roared. Why listen to his words? Human soul masters and soul beasts share only hatred. I refuse to let you be deceived. Xiao Wu sprang between them, hand outstretched. "Brother, wait!" But the Titan giant ape's eyes were ablaze with distrust. Cheng Xiao pressed himself against the cold earth, stunned by the creature's feral rage, while Xiao Wu faced a terrible choice between the brother she loved and the stranger who claimed to be both beast and human. Seeing the Titan giant ape ready to strike without warning, Xiao Wu cried out, "Ming, stop! She's my friend!" In an instant, she leapt in front of Cheng Xiao, arms spread wide in a clear gesture of protection. The ape's fist froze in midair, just inches from Cheng Xiao's head. A low, gravelly voice, surprisingly human, rumbled through the clearing. "Xiao Wu, sister, humans can't be trusted." Bit by bit, the Titan lowered its enormous hand. With deliberate slowness, it continued, "Ming, understand." Xiao Wu let her arms fall. Her cheeks flushed pink as she looked up at the creature towering high above her. "But I want to try to trust you," she whispered. Chapter 32, Gambling with the Azure Bull Python. "Xiao Wu, sister." The titanic ape's deep voice trembled with anxiety. It could hardly believe that, after 2 years away from the Douluo forest, Xiao Wu would so readily swallow a human's lies. Humans and spirit beasts have always been sworn enemies, never allies. "You fools," it snarled under its breath. Before the last words had even left its lips, a heavier, more resonant rumble rolled through the trees. Branches cracked and leaves rustled as a magnificent figure slithered into view, the azure bull python, one of the two emperors of the Star-Dew Forest. Its head, shaped like a bull's, spanned more than 4 meters, crowned by a pair of lantern-bright eyes that glowed with an unsettling cobalt light. The massive snake body coiled behind it, each scale a dark swirl of black and blue, its girth thicker than a water tank. Cheng Xiao's heart hammered in his chest. Even the titanic ape's vast bulk seemed puny beside this sovereign of serpents, whose mere presence exuded an undeniable aura of domination. He swallowed hard and squared his shoulders, determined not to show fear, though every muscle in his body screamed to flee. Here's a polished version of the scene. Sister Xiaowu, why are you placing so much trust in this human? The azure bull python's voice rumbled through the clearing as it stared down at Cheng Xiao, who stood silently behind Xiaowu's broad shoulders. There isn't a trace of soul beast aura around him. Every word he's spoken is a lie to deceive you. He's no soul beast. As the python's final words echoed, its eyes darkened with murderous intent. No mere human soul master, let alone one not yet even a 3rd level, had ever dared lie to Sister Xiaowu, much less uncover her true identity. In the beast's cold calculation, there was only one outcome permitted. Feeling the shift in the python's stance, Cheng Xiao's pulse quickened. His frame trembled for an instant before a deep purple glow flared to life in his eyes. He lifted his chin, meeting the 100,000-year-old beast's murderous glare without flinching. I may not be a human who's taken the form of an ancient soul beast, he said, voice calm but edged with steel, but I have no need to hunt and kill to earn a soul ring. In fact, we aren't true enemies, are we? Preposterous. The azure bull python reared back, scales bristling. It lashed its tail across the ground, sharp claws gouging the earth. You claim to be harmless, yet you stand before me with the confidence of a monster. No, your very presence dishonors Sister Xiaowu's trust. Begone, or I will show you the error of your arrogance. This version retains all the key plot points, the python's suspicion, Cheng Xiao's unexpected confidence, and the rising tension, while presenting the dialogue and action in clear, dramatic English. How exactly do you plan to prove you have this power? Cheng Xiao asked, his voice steady. The great azure bull python coiled itself arrogantly, its scales glittering in the dim light. It let out a low, contemptuous chuckle. Prove it? Since time immemorial, soul masters and soul beasts have been sworn enemies. If what you say were true, that a soul master could grow stronger without claiming a soul beast's ring, then why have spirit beasts in the Star-Dew Forest been hunted mercilessly all these years? Why would any soul master bother? The python's tone dripped with scorn. As a soul beast with a history stretching back 100,000 years, it had seen every claim, every trick. Cheng Xiao's words struck it as little more than desperate lies. Xiao Wu, standing guard behind Cheng Xiao, felt a twinge of unease at the python's cold logic. She glanced at Cheng Xiao's composed face, unchanged, unshaken, and a surprising surge of trust welled in her chest. Over the past 2 years, she'd learned to read him better than anyone, even if she'd never admit how well she truly understood him. And yet, rare as their comforts were, she remembered each night they shared the same narrow bed. She naturally, too, up 2/3 of it, leaving Cheng Xiao the tiny remainder. His quiet acceptance of the cramped space had always been one more proof of his patience and of their bond. Now, with the azure bull python's skepticism hanging heavy in the air, Cheng Xiao met its gaze without flinching. Whatever came next, he was ready to show exactly what he could do. Xiao Wu awoke each morning, feeling thoroughly embarrassed, yet Cheng Xiao never chastised her. He'd simply tousle her hair, guide her to the cafeteria for breakfast, and then walk her to class. For 2 years, this had become their unspoken routine. At first, she found it dull, but the more time she spent studying alongside Cheng Xiao, the more she came to enjoy it. Soon she was determined to arrive at school before he did. She still loathed sitting through lectures, of course. What she loved was having Cheng Xiao by her side for every step of the day. Bit by bit, she accepted him completely and placed her trust in him without question. Ming, Xiao Wu called, gathering her courage as she faced her 2 junior disciples. Her eyes blazed with resolve. I believe in Cheng Xiao. Even if he isn't a soul beast avatar, If he's nothing more than a human being, I still choose to trust him. At her words, the azure bull python's great lantern-like eyes narrowed to slits, its gaze growing colder and more hostile. It fixed Cheng Xiao with a fiery glare and demanded, "What did you tell Sister Xiao Wu, human? What did you do? And if you so much as lay a finger on her, or reveal her true identity, I'll hunt you to the ends of the earth." No sooner had the words left his mouth than the azure bull python reared its massive head and let out a thunderous roar. The very ground trembled beneath its power, and every spirit beast in Douluo Forest bowed low in respect to the two sovereigns of the wood. Cheng Xiao offered a gracious smile and cupped his hands. "Elder Azure Bull Python, since you clearly still have doubts about me, and I haven't yet forged my second soul ring, why don't I do it here, in your presence? That way you'll know I mean no harm." The Azure Bull Python's eyes narrowed, its voice like distant thunder. "Human, don't think you can fool us. Every soul master must draw upon a spirit beast's soul ring to advance. That law is absolute." "Laws do have their exceptions," Cheng Xiao replied coolly. "Elder, I understand your mistrust of humans, but I've known Xiao Wu for over 2 years now. She's never once betrayed my confidence. If I intend to claim her 100,000-year soul ring," the azure bull python rumbled, its massive coils shifting restlessly, "am I at liberty to bring her into the star forest?" Cheng Xiao met the beast's gaze evenly. "Actually, I don't need that soul ring," he said, voice calm but carrying an undercurrent of steel. "Nor do I intend to hunt spirit beasts for rings. What I'm about to reveal, well, it might be more than a little shocking." His words cut through the murmurs of the assembled spirit beasts. Even the Titan ape-man, the largest of the Forest Emperor's guardians, froze, mouth half open. Xiao Wu and the others who had come to pay homage to the Forest Emperor stared at Cheng Xiao in stunned disbelief. When a spirit beast's cultivation reaches 100,000 years, it awakens spiritual wisdom, granting it the power to understand complex speech. Now they all comprehended the implication. This human claimed he could advance without ever taking a soul ring. "If word of this got out among human soul masters," Cheng Xiao continued, "they would never let me live. I'd be hunted down before I could take a single step. And yet, here I stand." A hush fell over the clearing. The azure bull python's eyes narrowed. The Titan ape-man thumped its chest in thought. Even the ancient trees themselves seemed to hold their breath. Xiao Wu's lips curved into a gentle crescent. Her eyes, bright and unfathomable, drifted over to Cheng Xiao. In that shared silence, neither needed to speak. Both understood how extraordinary, how dangerous this revelati truly was. Now, the sky-blue bull python was wholly convinced by Cheng Xiao's words. "All right," he rumbled, his voice rolling like distant thunder. "I'll give you one chance. You claim you can condense your second soul ring, yet you failed before. Prove me wrong. Condense that ring right here in front of all these soul beasts. If you succeed, we'll never interfere with your affair with Xiao Wu again. Better still, whenever you run into trouble, come to the Xingdou Great Forest. Ming and I will stand by your side, no questions asked. Do we have a deal?" "Brother," the Titan giant ape gasped, staring at the python in horror. He'd never expected his elder sibling to offer such a promise. If this human actually succeeded, wouldn't he effectively become their younger brother? But the sky-blue bull python paid no heed to his brother's protests. His gaze was locked on Cheng Xiao, burning with anticipation. He wanted to see whether a human, one who had never endured the 100,000-year cycle of a soul beast, could truly condense a soul ring. Chapter 33, Millennium, Second Ring. "I accept your proposal," Cheng Xiao said, smiling broadly, only to let his tone turn frigid. "But there's something you should understand first. Although I don't need to hunt soul beasts to refine soul rings, my martial soul is unique. When I do enter the Douluo Forest to hunt, I expect you two to let me pass unhindered." The azure bull python's eyes narrowed. "You humans are threatening us," it hissed. It had not anticipated that a mere human would dare dictate terms to them. If not for Sister Xiao Wu's sake, it would have crushed him like an insect. Cheng Xiao spread his hands in a gesture of calm. "I'm not threatening you. I'm stating facts. I have no intention of swearing an oath that I'll never hunt soul beasts in front of either of you or Xiao Wu. In my eyes, there are no evil or good soul beasts, only opportunities for growth." As long as I need to, I'll slaughter soul beasts without mercy, just as they slaughter soul masters. The assembled 10,000-year soul beasts bristled at his words. A mere level 1 cultivator had the gall to speak so defiantly. The azure bull python let out a low laugh. Well, you're certainly spirited. Very well, human. For Sister Xiaowu's sake, I'll keep my promise. Cheng Xiao's grin deepened. He bowed slightly, fists pressed together in salute. Thank you, Senior Tianqing. Now it's my turn to hold up my end of the bargain. Without hesitation, he settled into a cross-legged posture before the 2 soul beast emperors, Sister Xiaowu and the vigil of watching beasts. Eyes closed, Cheng Xiao wove his fingers into complex seals. His chest rose and fell calmly, and with every breath, tendrils of dark purple qi seeped from his body, drifting to hover around him like living shadows. The Titan ape glanced at Cheng Xiao, who sat cross-legged on the forest floor, and whispered, "Brother, I've got a feeling this kid just might pull it off." The azure bull python remained silent, its unblinking eyes fixed on the young human. If Cheng Xiao could truly succeed, then in time, once he had grown stronger, the destiny of the soul beast clan might be forever altered. Real change could be on the horizon. "Cheng Xiao, you can do this, can't you?" Xiao Wu murmured, her large, luminous eyes never leaving him. She didn't know why, but her heart ached with worry for this fragile human. Hours passed. As dusk settled over the great forest, most of the onlooking soul beasts drifted away. From dawn until evening, many had debated whether to seize the moment and make an example of Cheng Xiao, but out of respect for the great forest emperor, none dared to strike. Now only Xiao Wu, the azure bull python, and the Titan ape remained vigil. Perched on the Titan ape's broad shoulder, Xiao Wu stifled a yawn. After a full day of waiting, even her restless spirit was beginning to tire. Xiao Wu refused to drift off to sleep. He needed to be fully alert the moment Cheng Xiao opened his eyes. Fighting back the haze of drowsiness, he waited. Soul ring, condense! The young man's low shout cut through the night air. Instantly, the azure bull python and the Titan giant ape, who had been watching intently all day, stirred. They saw a shimmering ring of energy coalesce around Cheng Xiao's form. In the next heartbeat, a chilling aura of death burst outward from him. The 2 forest emperors' faces went pale. They lunged to shield Xiao Wu, their eyes locked on Cheng Xiao. Behind Cheng Xiao, darkness seemed to breathe itself into shape. A figure stepped forward, as if born from shadow, long, dark purple hair tumbling past black-plated armor. Though night had already fallen, his arrival draped the trees in an even deeper gloom, tendrils of black mist curling at his feet. Beneath the helm, violet eyes glowed with a cold, merciless light. The azure bull python and Titan giant ape recoiled, sensing the deathly power radiating from this mysterious godlike presence. And all at once, the forest held its breath. As though delivering a final warning to the 2 forest emperors, the Haddo King's form shattered into a cascade of radiant shards. In an instant, those luminous fragments coalesced into a fleeting rainbow and seeped into Cheng Xiao's body. As the last of the Shadow King vanished, the second soul ring that had hovered around Cheng Xiao solidified at once. Though still a deep, velvety purple, Xiao Wu and the others could plainly see a golden, century-old ring turning within its core. No sooner had the soul ring finished condensing than a surge of new knowledge flooded Cheng Xiao's mind. Moments later, he slowly opened his eyes and read the freshly unlocked abilities. Murderous Aura. Unleash a powerful aura that plunges a chosen enemy into terror for 1 minute, reducing all of their abilities and attributes by 50%. Invisibility. While invisible, movement speed increases by 30%. The effect ends if the user attacks or is hit. Clarity returned to his head, and Cheng Xiao felt an immediate, instinctive command of both skills. At the same time, the Shadow King's lingering power drained entirely from his body, leaving no trace of any temporary status effect. A heavy drowsiness washed over Cheng Xiao as his soul power and shadow force drained to near zero. Every muscle ached, and he felt as though sleep would claim him for good. Yet, summoning the last reserves of his will, he forced himself upright. Deep in his chest, a pulse of shadow force flared, and with it, 2 dark purple soul rings ascended beneath his feet, rotating slowly in the air. Because shadow force reinforced his body, Cheng Xiao's soul veins could now sustain rings up to 1,300 years old. Unlike other soul masters whose rings were plundered from defeated beasts, every ring Cheng Xiao bore had been forged from his own essence. As he advanced, his rings grew older, each one unlocking ever more potent shadow skills tailored to his own soul. A low, rumbling voice cut through the charged silence. Before him coiled the azure bull python, a soul beast whose name carried the weight of 100,000 years. The serpent's scarlet eyes widened as it fixed on Cheng Xiao's new rings. "Boy, I never expected you to succeed," it admitted, its deep voice trembling with a mixture of awe and fear. Two of its own golden rings, symbols of its ancient power, rippled in response, yet even these paled beside the chilling aura the human now wielded. For a moment, the mighty serpent looked as though it might recoil. It had faced countless foes, yet none had ever sent such a shiver down its spine, nothing short of an encounter with death's own abyss. Cheng Xiao, though exhausted and wounded, stood taller than ever before. His eyes gleamed with quiet defiance, the first flickers of a legend in the making. Even among the Soul Masters, a titled Douluo at spirit level 95 is considered almost invincible. Yet a single, casual gesture from that figure just now had obliterated it in an instant. There was no doubt this newcomer's power far exceeded level 95. Azure Bull Python's reptilian senses quivered with awe. Could this young human truly be one of the legendary gods, those mythic warriors who had broken past level 100 on the Douluo Continent? Had the boy before him earned the right to ascend to godhood? Cheng Xiao laughed, but it came out as a tremor. His skin was deathly pale as he forced himself to bow. "I hope you'll keep your promise." The sky blue bull python's eyes snapped to Cheng Xiao, its voice a low, menacing rumble. "Do you really believe a soul beast is the same as a human?" it asked. "I intend to honor my word, but first, rest. Press on any further, and you will die right here." "Da Ming," the azure bull python hissed. Xiao Wu, who'd been supporting Cheng Xiao, spun around, her eyes blazing at the serpent. Immediately, the python recoiled, head bobbing in annoyance, and fell silent. On the other side, the titan giant ape scratched his head sheepishly. Seeing his brother hush, he wisely kept his thoughts to himself rather than risk Xiao Wu's displeasure. Xiao Wu guided Cheng Xiao beneath a broad oak, gently helping him settle on the soft grass. Exhaustion pulled at his limbs, and he closed his eyes, allowing the tree's cool shade to soothe him. A tense stillness hung in the clearing. The two forest emperors, the python and the ape, stood guard at the edge of their territory. The faint residue of death magic still clung to the air, sending every curious spirit beast scurrying away. Only moments before, they'd hovered at the clearing's rim, eager to see if the emperors would truly finish off the intruding human. Now, not one dared linger. Several hours crawled by. Gradually, Cheng Xiao felt his soul power rekindle and his shadow energy return. He stirred, peeled open his eyelids, and blinked up at the sky filtering through the oak's canopy. Directly in front of him, the azure bull python and titan giant ape were idly tracing circles in the dirt, as if bored by the day's earlier excitement. The fierce tension that had crackled between them and the human was gone, replaced by an almost casual calm. Xiao Wu eased herself beside him, relief softening her features. "You're awake." Cheng Xiao stretched, flexing his fingers as strength flowed back into his limbs. "Thanks to you," he whispered, offering her a grateful smile. All around them, the forest lay hushed, the only movement the gentle rustle of leaves overhead, an unspoken promise that, for now, they were safe. The azure bull python's face hovered beside him, its expression gentle as it spoke. Cheng Xiao inclined his head in acknowledgement, then paused. Xiao Wu had drifted off, her head resting lightly on his right shoulder. He stared down at her in mild surprise. "Human boy," the python began softly, "I hope you've forgotten what happened earlier. I did it only to protect Sister Xiao Wu." The great snake's eyes were earnest. "Right now, she's in the midst of her soul beast transformation. Low-level soul masters can't perceive her true form, but if she encounters someone at Contra level, or, heaven help us, a titled Douluo, her secret will be blown. I'm at my limit. I can't hide her any longer." It bowed its head. "So I'm entrusting her to you once she returns to the human world. I can see how much she depends on you." Cheng Xiao exhaled, feeling the weight of the request settle over him. Protect Xiao Wu? He knew he had no choice but to try. Still, Tang Hao was a titled Douluo, one of the strongest fighters on the mainland. And Cheng Xiao was nothing more than a second-level soul master. How was he supposed to keep her safe under that kind of threat? With his current strength, Cheng Xiao knew he had no hope of defeating Tang Hao, unless Xiao Wu remained in the Douluo forest long enough to grow stronger. But could she really stay there in peace? If she could, she never would have ventured into the human world to meet Tang San in the first place. And because their bond hadn't developed as deeply as it had in the original timeline, Tang Hao would surely react once he learned that Xiao Wu and Tang San weren't as close as before. The very thought gave Cheng Xiao a pounding headache. Ever since Tang Hao's return, Xiao Wu had been under his watchful eye. If she refused to go back with him, Tang Hao would track them down within a single night. Then who knew what would happen? Cheng Xiao swallowed hard. "Senior Tianqing Python," he said, steeling himself, "I promise you, I will protect Xiao Wu with all my strength." "Thank you, human boy." The Azure Bull Python fixed Cheng Xiao with a grateful gaze. "By the way, I don't know your name yet. May I ask what it is?" Cheng Xiao offered a friendly smile. "I'm Cheng Xiao. You can just call me Cheng Xiao." "Cheng Xiao," the python's irises gleamed. "That is a fine name." Cheng Xiao nodded. "And from now on, when you and Erming see me, you can call yourselves Da Ming and Erming. Sister Xiao Wu always calls you that." "Very well." The Azure Bull Python Da Ming bowed his head in agreement. "We shall be Da Ming and Erming." Cheng Xiao and the two Serpentine Emperors exchanged looks, and despite Xiao Wu's soft snores nearby, shared quiet smiles. In the days that followed, Deming and Erming grew more accustomed to Cheng Xiao's presence. Their only real complaint was Xiao Wu's nightly habit of curling up in Cheng Xiao's arms, an intimacy that left the two brothers playfully jealous. Beyond that, life settled into an easy rhythm. Yet, whenever they saw Xiao Wu so content with a human, a pang of sadness touched their hearts. After all, she was their little sister, and they had watched her leave the Star Forest in search of something beyond their hidden realm. Still, if she was happy and well cared for, Deming and Erming would never stand in her way. As long as Xiao Wu was happy, that was enough for them. So after several bittersweet days together, the moment of parting at last arrived. Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu were still students, not yet graduates or fully fledged soul masters. As they packed their bags, the Titan Ape and the Azure Bull Python looked on with heavy hearts. They understood the ways of humans well enough to know they couldn't ask their friends to stay, no matter how much they wished it. "Cheng Xiao," the Titan Ape said, nervously scratching his massive head, a shy gesture he'd somehow picked up from Cheng Xiao over the past few days. To Cheng Xiao's eyes, it was almost comical, a mountain of fur and muscle fumbling with a single, tiny hand. But beneath the gesture lay genuine affection. "When we meet again, I want to see how much stronger you've become. Then we'll have a real sparring match." Cheng Xiao smiled back. "Deal. As soon as I earn my titled Douluo rank, I'll be ready for you." The Azure Bull Python dipped his great horned head in agreement. His gaze was steady and warm as he addressed Cheng Xiao once more. "And as for Xiao Wu, she's in your care now." Xiao Wu returned their nods with a gentle smile, her eyes shining with gratitude. Though the journey ahead was uncertain, in that moment of farewell, each of them carried away something precious: hope for the future and the promise of reunion. If you ever run into something you can't handle, come find us in Douluo Forest. "All right, see you later, Deming, Erming." Cheng Xiao waved to the Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape, then slipped her hand into Xiao Wu's. Smiling at each other, they turned and headed back to Notting College. A few days later at Notting College, Tang San's relentless training paid off. He finally broke through to Soul Level 20. Eager for his second soul ring, he immediately sought out his master. "Master, I've reached level 20. May I go hunt for my second ring?" Tang San asked, eyes shining. His master nodded. "I've already chosen your quarry, a 600-year-old plant spirit called the Ghost Vine. Dean Mono will guide you to its lair." With Dean Mono's assistance, Tang San tracked the Ghost Vine into the dense forest surrounding the college. The beast was infamous, its barbed tendrils laced with a potent neurotoxin. Any creature pierced by its thorns would dissolve into a pool of corrosive fluid, feeding the vine's relentless growth. Undeterred, Tang San steadied his breath, gripped his weapon, and prepared to face one of the most terrifying plant spirits in existence. The hunt for his second soul ring was about to begin. Experienced soul masters know how to counter the ghost vine's deadly thorns and toxins. Antidote potions, sturdy armor, and careful coverage of exposed skin can all render its barbs harmless. Yet the vine's most terrifying gift remains its parasitic assault. In battle, it scatters countless microscopic seeds that burrow into living flesh, siphoning vitality straight from its prey. Since Tangsan claimed his second spirit ring, every facet of his power has surged. His blue-silver grass, once delicate and silvery, has grown markedly more resilient, and even its appearance has begun to shift. Under the influence of that new ring, the grass now bears a faint emerald sheen and a sinuous texture, not unlike the ghost vine itself, hinting at the astonishing potential locked within Tangsan's growing strength. Chapter 35. Cheng Xiao has no chance. Not in college. Dean's office. Xiao Gang, Mano called, setting aside the dossier he'd been studying. He folded his arms across his chest and leaned back in his chair, eyes bright with anticipation. Tangsan just claimed his second spirit ring. Aren't you curious to see how much stronger he's grown? The dean, Master Wang, glanced up from the ancient tome he'd been reading, expression calm. He closed the book with a soft thud. There's nothing surprising about Tangsan's progress, he said evenly. In all their previous private sparring sessions, he's never managed to outfight Cheng Xiao. Mano's grin widened. That was before. This time, Tangsan's new spirit ring bears the ghost vine's parasitic power. Once the vine takes hold, his opponent can't even mount a defense. And when he combines it with his blue-silver grass techniques, he paused for effect. Cheng Xiao simply doesn't stand a chance. Master Wang nodded slowly, as if weighing these developments. Blue-silver grass on its own has lacked that killer edge, he admitted. But with the ghost vine's stealthy parasitism, Tangsan's influence on the battlefield will be overwhelming. Cheng Xiao won't know what hit him. Outside the dean's office window, midday sunlight spilled across the campus courtyard. In a matter of days, everyone would see for themselves exactly how formidable Tangsan had become, and why Cheng Xiao's victory was now all but impossible. Mano's brow furrowed. Xiao Gang, don't forget, Cheng Xiao is also a genius with an innate soul power, and his beast martial soul ranks among the very best. Besides, I heard he left the academy half a month ago to hunt soul beasts with another innate power prodigy. I doubt their abilities are as weak as you claim. Surely you don't really believe that. And you said Tangsan sparred with Cheng Xiao privately and lost. This is the perfect opportunity. Both of them just claimed their second soul rings. Let them duel and settle once and for all who's stronger. The headmaster shook his head, his expression calm. Xiao-san won't lose. If you want to see it, set it up. I've been curious too. What sort of impact his second soul skill will have on the body? Mano laughed. Exactly, Xiao Gang. It's decided then. As soon as Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu return from their hunt, I'll make the arrangements. The headmaster nodded, rose from his chair, gave Mano a slight bow, and walked out of the dean's office. Tangsan knocked softly on the study door before slipping inside. His master sat at a low desk, eyes glowing as he looked up. Xiao-san, you're here, he greeted, rising to his feet. Stepping forward, he ruffled Tangsan's hair, a habitual gesture after 2 years of tutelage. Have a rest, he said, settling Tangsan onto a cushion. Your cultivation speed has been nothing short of astonishing. The master glanced down at the boy, who barely reached his shoulders. An inward sigh escaped him. In just 2 years, this 8-year-old had already achieved the rank of Grand Soul Master, a milestone that had taken him decades to reach himself. Tangsan shook his head. I'm not tired, teacher. He smiled brightly. Without your teaching, I couldn't have advanced so quickly. Honestly, Tangsan said, the reason I'm improving so quickly is because you've taught me so well. The old master chuckled, his eyes bright with pride. You little flatterer. But I've got news for you. The dean of Notting College wants to see you spar with Cheng Xiao. As your teacher, I thought you ought to know in advance, so you can prepare yourself mentally. Tangsan frowned, thoughtful. I've already dueled Cheng Xiao several times. His martial spirit is unusual. He's never actually manifested it. He fights entirely with the twin short swords he forges. A beast-type martial spirit without any manifestation? the master mused, eyebrows raised. That's extraordinarily rare. Tang San nodded. From my observations, his first soul skill must be a self-enhancement ability, something that adds strengthening effects to his body and weapons. The master shook his head in mild amusement. A buff skill as a first soul technique? What kind of soul beast did he take his first ring from to get something so impractical? Master Shen leaned back in his chair, brows drawn together in thought. He's only 8 years old and hasn't even formally become my disciple yet. How could he possibly grasp the subtleties of martial theory? He glanced at Tang San with mild amusement. Besides, that first spirit ring he claimed, from a century-old soul beast, only grants a mere buff-type skill. Its power must be negligible. Waving the topic aside, he continued, Forget Cheng Xiao for a moment. Let's talk about you. Since you absorbed the Ghostvine spirit ring, your blue-silver grass must have become even more exquisite, slender, yet tougher, right? Tang San nodded eagerly. He reached out, and the emerald tendrils of his martial spirit unfurled, catching the sunlight streaming through the tall window. Yes, master. After integrating the Ghostvine spirit ring, my blue-silver grass is noticeably stronger. Hold on. Master Shen pressed a gentle hand against Tang San's outstretched wrist, then turned to look out at the academy courtyard. Come with me to the back hill. It's the perfect place to test the skill granted by your second spirit ring. With that, he stood and led Tang San out of the study. They walked briskly through Nodding Academy's bustling corridors and out onto the sunlit paths that wound toward the verdant slopes of the back hill, eager to witness Tang San's next breakthrough. Late afternoon sunlight filtered through the trees, leaving the secluded back mountain eerily silent and spotless. Come, Xiao-san, his master said, raising a hand in invitation. Unleash your martial spirit for me. Tang San inclined his head and slowly opened his right palm. A soft blue glow blossomed between his fingertips, and strands of blue-silver grass, each blade shifting from pale cerulean to deep sapphire, quietly wove themselves into existence. Just as I suspected, his master murmured, leaning closer to inspect the grass coiling in Tang San's hand. My theory holds true. After absorbing the Ghostvine's soul ring, your blue-silver grass is gradually taking on its characteristics. Straightening, the master pointed to a towering old tree beside them. Xiao-san, bind that tree with your grass and give it a hard tug. Let's see how much strength you've gained. At once, teacher. Obediently, Tang San summoned a thick tendril of the glowing grass. Within a heartbeat, it snaked around the tree's sturdy trunk. Then, gripping the base of the blade, he pulled with all his might. The bark strained under the pressure, and the earth trembled, proof that his martial spirit had indeed grown stronger. Guided by the urge of his spirit power, Tang San clenched his palm and drew in a surge of energy. The blue-silver grass coiled around the massive oak gradually tightened its grip, forcing the tree to bend under its relentless hold. Watching Tang San follow his instructions, the master nodded in approval. He stepped forward and studied the bound trunk carefully, then beckoned Tang San to his side. Obediently, Tang San retracted his spirit blue-silver grass and came to stand beside him. The master pointed out a section of the bark, now scorched to a charcoal black. See this? He said softly. Although your blue-silver grass has grown thinner in diameter, its tensile strength has increased significantly. The charred patch where the grass clings to the wood, that's the work of your second soul ring. By absorbing that ring, you gained the corrosive toxin of the Ghostvine. Combine that with the mandrake snake's neurotoxin from your first soul ring, and the two poisons together are more than enough to neutralize most of the soul masters you'll face. He straightened and turned to Tang San with a slight smile. Now, Xiao-san, release your second soul skill. Let's see how the parasitic effect holds. Chapter 36. Tang San's Future Development Path. Tang San inhaled deeply and called out, Second soul skill, parasitism. Instantly, the second soul ring on his ankle flared with a brilliant yellow light. In the next heartbeat, cerulean beams burst forth from the great tree already entangled by his blue-silver grass. A dark blue aura spread over the trunk. This time it wasn't the standard binding skill, but the parasitic power of his new technique. And in an instant the tree was once again ensnared by vivid grass tendrils. See that, Sanner? His master said, voice steady but intense, as he pointed to the tree now thrumming under the influence of parasitism. Never underestimate your second soul skill. Most soul masters can't even detect parasitism until it's too late. In practice, it can infiltrate a host's vitality, giving you an edge even against a momentarily careless opponent. Under the right conditions, your blue-silver grass will prove devastating. Tang San nodded thoughtfully. Yet as he stared at the tree's soft glow and the sinewy grass coils, a subtle doubt stirred in him. Something about the way parasitism interfaced with his blue-silver grass felt off. Before he could consider any opponent, he'd first have to refine the synergy between these two powers. Tang San furrowed his brow, still unconvinced. Master, may I ask you something? My first soul skill binds the enemy, and my second is basically the same, seed binding, just laced with poison. Yet the toxin was so weak it couldn't even eat through the bark of that huge tree. Against a soul master whose soul power courses through every fiber of their body, it wouldn't stand a chance. Aren't the two skills redundant, and won't their effectiveness be even worse against someone truly strong? Tang San frowned. Master, let's say I'm up against a powerful enemy, one strong enough to break free from my blue-silver grass entanglement. With the grass spirit ring as my only weapon, what's the best way to strike back? The master shook his head and offered a gentle smile. Little San, you're overlooking an important factor. Beyond spirit quality and spirit power level, every spirit master's true strength comes down to their chosen cultivation path. He paused thoughtfully and then continued. Generally speaking, spirit masters develop along 5 distinct routes, each demanding its own training methods and producing very different battle styles. 1. Power attack masters, specialists in raw strength and close-quarters combat. 2. Agility, assassin masters, masters of speed, stealth, and precision strikes. 3. Defense masters, experts in endurance and protecting themselves or allies. 4. Support, auxiliary masters, focused on healing, buffs, and battlefield assistance. 5. Control masters, skilled in crowd control, manipulating enemy movements and flow of battle. Knowing which path to follow and committing fully to its techniques is just as vital as spirit quality or power level. These 5 development routes are the product of countless trials and years of experience. Choose wisely, and you'll find your greatest strength. Tang San's eyes lit with understanding. The master's words had unveiled a whole new dimension to his training and a clearer direction for his own path as a spirit master. Master leaned forward, eyes alight with excitement. According to our martial theory research, control-type soul masters are the strongest of the 5 classifications. The others may boast flashy skills, but they rely on unthinking brute force, charging headlong into battle without a second's hesitation. As a control type, however, you must keep your mind razor-sharp and your nerves calm, constantly analyzing the situation to deploy the perfect move. He paused, tapping the table for emphasis. That's why, when selecting your first 2 soul rings, I prioritized abilities that enhance entanglement, bolstered by a bit of raw attack power. Remember, in the wider Soul Master world, most practitioners favor pure offense. But once your soul power grows, even a control tool, why pipe like you will pack a devastating punch? Master's voice softened, but his smile turned almost conspiratorial. Take the blue-silver grass spirit, for example. Many dismiss it as worthless, yet even a seasoned attack-oriented soul master struggles to break its bindings. Xiaosun, your martial spirit may seem ordinary, but you are anything but useless. There are no worthless spirits, only masters who haven't discovered their true potential. With that, he swept his arm wide and delivered his famed motto as if it were a rallying cry. No spirit is useless, only its wielder. Tang San stood quietly before his master, reviewing the lesson that had stayed with him through countless nights. In the world of soul masters, there are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters. If your martial soul is hard to cultivate, the problem lies with you, not the soul. He tightened his grip on his staff. His half-level innate soul power had once triggered a savage mutation in his martial soul, stalling his progress. If that disaster hadn't occurred, he reflected, he might already be a great soul master, or even a titled Douluo. Instead, he blamed his weapon, his cultivation halted by what he perceived its limitations. All of it was his own fault. His talent was simply not sharp enough. With better gifts, he would long since have begun his ascent to the very top of the continent. Now, hearing his master's voice again. There are no useless martial souls, only useless soul masters. Tang San felt a determined heat spring to life in his chest. He realized how wrong he'd been to doubt that core principle. The blue-silver grass might lack raw offensive power, but its true strength lay in absolute control. Once it bound an enemy, no matter how formidable their spirit, it left them helpless. Just imagine a soul master wielding a top-tier attack spirit ensnared within those coils. Who then would dare call the blue-silver grass worthless? Xiao-san, remember what I told you. Master's tone grew unexpectedly serious. Your blue-silver grass entanglement is indeed powerful, but no technique is without its counter. You may never know in advance what special methods your opponent has prepared. Even among soul masters, there are nemeses, people whose strengths directly counter your own. Never place blind faith in your grass control. You can't gauge your enemy's true power until you face them. Tang San's brow furrowed. But master, if my blue-silver grass control is as strong as you say, shouldn't it be invincible? There are no absolutes, master replied. From the fold of his sleeve, he withdrew a small, razor-sharp knife. With a single, effortless slice, he cut through the thick vine of blue-silver grass wrapped around a nearby tree. The strand snapped clean in two and tumbled to the ground. Tang San stared at the divided grass, comprehension dawning in his eyes. I understand, master. Tang San frowned in sudden realization. My blue-silver grass may be tough, but it isn't hard enough to resist a sharp blade. His eyes brightened as he recalled his duel with Cheng Xiao 2 years earlier, how his vines had been ruthlessly sheared away. Only then had he understood that, for all its resilience, blue-silver grass was still a plant, and a keen-edged weapon could slice through it without effort. The master offered him a pleased smile and a nod. As I thought, he said, my disciple Yu Xiaogang, always quick to learn. You've understood in a heartbeat. He went on, Xiao-san, you must remember that your blue-silver grass is still plant matter. Unless you face a soul master wielding a flaming martial spirit, the real threat comes from weapon spirits, especially swords. Their cutting power can sever your grass at a stroke. But don't fret, soul masters who awaken weapon spirits are extremely rare, and those who summon sword spirits are rarer still. Cheng Xiao's twin blades pose little danger in the grand scheme of things. Sword, once your soul power reaches a higher level, the weapons he uses won't affect you at all. Hearing his master's RDS, Tang San's eyes lit up. It was just like the Tang sect's hidden weapons. Apart from those few rare, specially crafted pieces, ordinary hidden weapons simply can't pierce a soul master's defenses. Only top-tier hidden weapons with unique spirit marks can truly threaten a soul master's life. By that standard, Cheng Xiao was nothing more than a common hidden weapon, effective against low-level soul masters, but utterly powerless once the gap in soul power widens. It's like a firefly trying to rival the brightness of the full moon, ineffectual and incomparable. Chapter 37. Can you eat the pie in the sky? Tang San paused, brow furrowed in thought. Master, he said, when I search for spirit rings for blue-silver grass in the future, shouldn't I prioritize rings that counter its vulnerabilities? Rings that directly threaten anything that can harm my martial spirit? Master smiled indulgently and shook his head. Little San, you're still too inexperienced. If you followed your own plan, wouldn't blue-silver grass end up with 9 soul rings dedicated solely to countering every possible opponent? That's hardly practical. He leaned forward, eyes twinkling. Your blue-silver grass fears fire, so you equip rings to bolster its flame resistance. It fears sharp blades, so you seek rings that harden its stalks. But have you considered the cost of reserving 1 or 2 ring slots for every conceivable threat? What happens when you actually face those dangers? How will you confront or outmatch your enemies if you've wasted precious soul ring opportunities on speculative protections? Tang San frowned, unconvinced. But master, if I don't take these preemptive measures, how will my blue-silver grass become the ultimate control spirit? Master chuckled softly and ruffled Tang San's hair. Little San, you're overthinking things. True mastery comes not from hedging against every hypothetical danger, but from strengthening your spirit's core. Focus on enhancing the essence of blue-silver grass, its power, its adaptability, its fundamental control skills. Once the foundation is unshakable, you'll be ready for whatever threats lie ahead. Only then can you truly make your martial spirit invincible. Don't worry about that right now, his master said, gently patting Tang San's head. His voice was calm and confident. I've already laid out the path for your future development. What you need to do now is trust my methods and focus on your training. With me guiding you, nothing will stand in your way. Do you understand? He paused, then continued. If your goal is to become the greatest control-type soul master, you must have a reliable team at your side. If you don't yet have trustworthy partners, then you'll need to raise your own spirit power to title Douluo level. Once you reach that strength, your lack of raw offensive power will solve itself. His master gave a small smile. And I know you enjoy experimenting with hidden weapons. I may not rank them as high as core soul skills, but they are undeniably powerful. Paired with your blue-silver grass for crowd control, your secret weapons will deliver the decisive blows. As Tang San absorbed his master's words, a sudden clarity filled his mind. Of course, everything fit together perfectly. His master was right. Although his blue-silver grass spirit ability lacked raw power, Tang San could normally compensate with hidden weapons, and besides, hitting a stationary target was much easier for him than tracking a moving one. Master, may I use hidden weapons when I spar with Cheng Xiao? Tang San asked. No. The master's head shook firmly. Xiao San, this is only a friendly match. Winning or losing is nothing to worry about. Your hidden weapons are far too lethal. If you're not careful, you could kill him. Tang San frowned in disappointment. But master, if I can't use hidden weapons, there's no way I can beat Cheng Xiao. His twin daggers, the ones I forged myself, are so razor-sharp that even my blue-silver grass can't block them. Hearing this, the master's brow tightened in displeasure. Tang San had a talent for everything, but also a habit of courting danger. Still, recalling Tang Hao's counsel, he softened his tone. Xiao San, focus on what matters right now. You're still young. Don't set your sights too high too soon. Your priority at this stage must be to increase your spirit power. Competing with Cheng Xiao should be the last thing on your mind. Want to know why? Because you're a once-in-a-century prodigy blessed with twin martial souls, and your teacher is a theoretical master among all soul masters. Your potential can only outpace Cheng Xiao's. Your teacher promises that once you reach titled Douluo status and awaken your second martial soul, the Clear Sky Hammer, both of your souls will begin accumulating more and more spirit rings. With each new ring, your power will climb even higher. By then, even if your blue-silver grass were cut, burned, or fried, it wouldn't slow you down in the slightest. That's it, Tang San nodded slowly. Yet a peculiar sensation nagged at him, as if every prediction were already written in his future, and his only task now was to raise his soul power level. Why did he feel this way? In truth, it was what everyone called daydreaming, or, in more playful terms, pie drawing, letting your mind paint a picture of what's yet to come. All right, Xiao-san, put those worries aside, Master said, watching Tang San's tense expression ease only slightly. Once Cheng Xiao returns with her second soul ring, the dean will set up a duel between the two of you. Purely martial arts, no soul abilities. That's the only way you'll truly understand where you stand. Tang San bowed his head. Understood, Master. Back at Notting College, the work-study students' dormitory hummed with quiet activity. Word had spread that Cheng Xiao and Xiao Wu had each claimed their second soul ring in the Star-Do Forest, instantly advancing them to Great Soul Master rank. Hearing this, Wang Sheng and his friends exchanged envious glances. 6 years of sweat and toil had gone into their own cultivation here, day after day of grueling training, all to reach first-level Soul Master. Most of their soul rings came from 10-year-old beasts, but a few lucky souls had secured rings from creatures a century old. Those rings were the true trophies, the stuff of legends, and out of reach for nearly everyone else. Brother Cheng, Sister Xiao Wu. Wang Sheng strode up to them with a bright grin. Congratulations on your new rings. You two really are the cream of Notting College. You've become a great soul master just 2 years after entering the academy. Cheng Xiao smiled and gave Wang Sheng a reassuring pat on the shoulder. 100-year soul ring is nothing to sneeze at, but it's only the beginning. Give it time. You'll earn a 1,000-year ring, and before you know it, a 10,000-year one. Wang Sheng's grin turned wry. Brother Cheng, we look up to you as our big brother, but you treat us like pack animals, don't you? He shook his head. Despite the kindness behind Cheng Xiao's words, they still sounded a bit condescending. By the way, Wang Sheng added with a frown, the dean said that once you and Sister Xiaowu are back, you two should come see him. He wants to talk to you. The dean wants to see me? Cheng Xiao raised an eyebrow. Yeah, Wang Sheng replied, scratching his head. He didn't explain why, just asked us to pass along the message as soon as you returned. Both of them exchanged puzzled looks, wondering what the dean had in mind. All right, I'll head to the dean's office. Cheng Xiao gave a curt nod, then turned to Xiao Wu, who was standing beside him, pouting. He reached out, lightly pinched her soft cheek, and smiled. You said you were tired. Go get some rest. Okay, Xiao Wu replied, rubbing her cheek. But you have to wake me when you get back. Promise, Cheng Xiao said softly before slipping out of the work-study dorm and heading toward the dean's suite at Notting College. Once he'd rounded the corner, Wang Sheng cleared his throat and peered at Xiao Wu, who was frozen in place. Hey, Sister Xiao Wu, stop staring after him. Cheng Xiao isn't coming back. Xiao Wu shot Wang Sheng a fierce glare. Of course he's coming back. She ball-fisted her hand with determination and a mischievous grin. By the way, I've just broken through to Great Soul Master. How about a spar? No, Sister Xiao Wu, please. Wang Sheng threw up his hands. You're unstoppable now. I was wrong. I'll never doubt you again. Chapter 38. I, Tang San, will not lose. Dean, after what Wang Sheng told me, if there's anything you need, please let me know. Cheng Xiao stood in front of the dean's office, hesitating for a moment before pushing the door wide. Inside, Dean Mano was seated behind a polished wooden desk, a leather-bound book open in his hands. At the sound of Cheng Xiao's approach, he looked up, offering a polite nod. You're just in time, Mano said, gently snapping the book closed and setting it aside. He smiled and beckoned Cheng Xiao forward. I did want to speak with you, though it's nothing major. Cheng Xiao took a seat opposite the dean, eager to hear what he had to say. Then, unable to contain his curiosity, he asked, Dean, I've heard rumors that you went hunting for your second soul ring all on your own and didn't bring any of the Academy's teachers with you. Did you succeed in claiming it? Have you broken through to Great Soul Master? Dean Mano's eyebrows rose in surprise. By all rights, no Soul Master would dare face dangerous soul beasts alone unless they were supremely confident in their abilities. Cheng Xiao, however, had never been one to follow convention. Mano leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled beneath his chin. I won't deny I went alone, he admitted, but you'll have to hear the whole story before passing judgment. Sit back, and I'll explain exactly what happened, how close I came to failure, and why I think it might matter to you. As the dean began to recount his perilous hunt, Cheng Xiao settled in, eager to learn every detail of the dangerous journey that might yet shape both their futures. Dean Mano certainly hadn't expected that Cheng Xiao could acquire soul rings without having to hunt down soul beasts himself, so he'd never need to lead a hunting party or wait around for the right moment. Yes, Dean, I've been pretty lucky, Cheng Xiao said smoothly. When I was out hunting, I came across a dying, century-old spirit beast. Its aura resonated perfectly with my martial soul, so I absorbed it. That's astounding. Your luck never seems to run out. Mano replied with a grin. In that case, I'll schedule a match for you against Tang San tomorrow morning. I'm eager to see how far our two prodigies at Noting Academy have come. No problem, Dean, Cheng Xiao nodded. Then, curiosity flickering in his eyes, he asked, Are there any specific rules for the match? It's just a friendly spar, no dirty tricks, Mano said, shaking his head. Though I did hear you commissioned 2 custom daggers. Is that true? My master said that Tang San's blue-silver grass would easily neutralize my daggers, so for today's sparring session, you two must rely solely on unarmed martial arts, no weapons capable of inflicting serious injury. We want to preserve the spirit of camaraderie. Understood, Cheng Xiao replied with a reassuring smile. The next morning, dappled sunlight filtered through the leaves overhead, scattering patterns of light and shadow across the empty training grounds. With classes in session, only 4 figures remained on the field. Grandmaster Luo and Dean Mano stood at the center. Cheng Xiao and Tang San faced each other at opposite ends, eyes locked in silent readiness. Cheng Xiao, Tang San, Dean Mano said, his crisp voice cutting through the quiet. In just 2 years at Notting College, both of you have already attained the rank of Great Soul Master, an impressive feat. In a moment, I will signal the start. Remember, this is a friendly competition. Injuries may occur, so proceed with caution. Do you understand? We understand, they answered simultaneously. Mano gave a slight nod. All right, let's begin this friendly spar. Wait a moment, their master interjected, turning to Tang San. Xiao-san, you're not allowed to use any spirit weapons in this match, including relying on Cheng Xiao's abilities. Both of you must fight with pure martial arts. Understood, master, Tang San replied, saluting crisply. He then faced Cheng Xiao, the light in his eyes turning a deep purple. But I stay. Lel won't lose. A confident smile curved Cheng Xiao's lips. We'll see about that. As soon as the words left his mouth, Cheng Xiao's eyes blazed. He clenched his right fist and activated his sprint skill. In an instant, his speed shot upward, and before Tang San could fully register the movement, a powerful punch slammed into his chest. Tang San's eyes widened. So fast! Cheng Xiao's velocity had clearly spiked after gaining that second soul ring. Had he not already switched on his purple demon eyes, Tang San wouldn't have tracked him at all. But rather than dodge, he stood his ground. With the unique techniques of the Tang sect at his disposal, he was more than ready to meet the challenge head-on. I watched Tang San snap his right arm up. The moment he clenched his fist, it glowed with a polished, milky white sheen, the Tang sect's secret jade hand technique, said to be immune to any poison. With a thunderous crack, his fist slammed into Cheng Xiao's. A muffled clang echoed through the arena. For a heartbeat, both combatants froze, then Tang San reeled backward, stumbling 3 paces. Cheng Xiao staggered only briefly before regaining his footing, eyes widening in shock. Even using his famed Xuan Yu hand, he hadn't managed to gain the upper hand. How fearsome must Tang San's strength truly be? Tang San's lips curved in a determined grin. He refused to yield. If sheer muscle wouldn't secure victory, he'd lean on spirit power. Cheng Xiao was renowned for his resilience, but he hadn't faced Tang San's blue-silver grass, especially when the twin martial swords lay idle at his sides. Drawing in a low breath, Tang San let a deep blue aura pool in his palm. First soul skill, entangling vines, he intoned. In an instant, several dark blue strands of silver grass burst forth, writhing like living serpents as they shot toward Cheng Xiao. Tang San barely registered the subtle shift in his blue-silver grass the moment he absorbed the ghost vine spirit ring. The once sturdy grass blades had grown far thinner, bristling now with countless tiny purple-black thorns, an unmistakable legacy of the ghost vine beast. At the same time, 2 golden spirit rings spiraled upward from his ankles, pulsing in time with his heartbeat. In an instant, thick, blue-black vines snaked out from his palms, lashing at Cheng Xiao in every direction. But Cheng Xiao only laughed and sprang aside. No target, no effect, right? With that taunt, he vanished as if swallowed by the air. Every strand of blue-silver grass, having lost its mark, recoiled and collapsed back to the ground. Tang San stood frozen, the violet glow of his purple demon eye sputtering across his irises. Since the duel began, he'd relied on that skill to lock on to Cheng Xiao, but now his opponent had slipped clean out of sight, leaving him desperately exposed. How is this possible? Tang San whispered, stunned. His first soul skill hadn't even made contact, so how could he ever hope to trigger his second ability, parasitism, when his opening strike had utterly failed? A sudden, fierce palpitation surged from the depths of Tang San's heart, and his face drained of all color. It was as if he were staring into a yawning void. His soul force rebelled within him. In that instant, visions of a massive heap of corpses and a sea of blood flashed through his mind. His whole body shook uncontrollably, and even the purple demon eye he had opened snapped shut against his will. Before he could catch his breath, Cheng Xiao appeared at his side. Her voice was a cold whisper. It seems you can't use your blue-silver grass spirit skill. In the same instant, she activated a pressure point strike and drove her fist straight into Tang San's chest. The thunderous crack of bone echoed across the courtyard. Tang San flew backward like a broken leaf in a storm, skidding 2.5 times before finally coming to rest in a battered heap. Xiao-san! His master, who had been watching the duel from nearby, froze in shock at Tang San's sudden defeat. Recovering himself, he darted forward and knelt by Tang San, sighed, offering a steadying hand. Tang San lay panting, pain shooting through his ribs with every breath. His master's eyes were filled with concern as he helped him to his feet. Cheng Xiao stood across the clearing, her gaze unwavering, ready for the next round. Chapter 39. Tang San's Resolve. Teacher, I'm fine. Tang San refused the helping hand his master offered. Gritting his teeth, he slowly hauled himself to his feet, one hand pressed against his aching ribs. His eyes blazed with fierce determination. I told you, this time I won't lose. Xiao-san, his master said, frowning. From what I can tell, Cheng Xiao's second soul ability must be invisibility. With your current strength, you simply can't defeat him. Tang San's violet eyes narrowed. A quiet, deadly light sparked within them. No, he said. If you let me use hidden weapons, I'll be the one standing victorious. Moments ago, Tang San had felt a strange wave of mental influence wash over him, the kind he'd never encountered before. Had it not been for his purple demon eyes, which not only sharpened his sight but also strengthened his will, he might have surrendered his consciousness entirely. As it was, he snapped back to full awareness just a heartbeat before Cheng Xiao's punch would have struck him, and managed to evade the blow. Now he stood ready, every muscle coiled, prepared to face Cheng Xiao once more. This time, nothing would hold him back. Tang San swayed on his feet, the power of his newly awakened second soul ring surging through his veins and bolstering his strength far beyond before. Even so, he gritted his teeth against the dizziness and stood firm. The old teacher bent close, voice low. But listen, if you bring hidden weapons into this fight, Cheng Xiao is sure to draw his paired swords in response. Your odds might actually drop. Tang San met his gaze with a confident glint. Trust me, teacher. If I'm allowed to use hidden weapons, I'll have an 80% chance of defeating Cheng Xiao outright. The old teacher sighed in exasperation, but rose and crossed back to stand beside Mano, relaying Tang San's request. Cheng Xiao's duel was meant to be a contest of soul skills only, Mano protested immediately. We agreed on that from the start. Now you suggest bringing weapons into it, without even consulting Cheng Xiao. Even if I consent, would he? The old teacher waved a reassuring hand. Mano, old friend, I don't see the harm in allowing a little flexibility. Are soul masters condemned to fight with spirit power alone? Sometimes you must be adaptable. In battle, resourcefulness is as crucial as raw strength. Mano's brow furrowed as he considered the teacher's words. The rules had been laid down, but the promise of a decisive victory for Tang San tempted them toward compromise. Would they bend their principles and risk Cheng Xiao's ire to tip the scales in Tang San's favor? Xiaogang, we've been friends too long for me not to speak my mind, Mano said, his eyes fixed on the stoic master before him. You were the one who insisted that neither child use any weapons, only soul skills. Now that Tang has fallen 3 times and Cheng Xiao still lies defeated, you suddenly propose arming them? I must admit, I'm puzzled by your change of heart. A flicker of irritation passed across Xiaogang's calm features. He hadn't expected such a direct challenge, yet Mano was right. He was the same man who first forbade weapons, now urging their use. No master of martial theory would ever admit a double standard, so he simply straightened his robes and met Mano's gaze. Mano, duels between soul masters are inherently unpredictable. You cannot foresee every eventuality or legislate every detail before the fight. In our world, there is but one unchanging law, the law of strength. If you still consider me your friend, trust my judgment. Allow the two of them to employ both soul skills and weapons. Only then will their true shortcomings, flawed form, hesitation, lack of versatility, be revealed. Mano studied Xiaogang for a long moment before he nodded. The afternoon sun filtered through the training hall's skylights, illuminating 2 young figures waiting to begin their next lesson. With weapons in hand at last, they would discover not only their weaknesses, but also the hidden potential that lay beyond the limits of pure soul power. Mano frowned, running a hand through his hair. You don't seriously think 2 geniuses should fight each other head-on, do you? Is that why our master died, because he rigidly followed the soul master's rules on his path to power? He hesitated. The master's point wasn't entirely without merit, but suddenly changing the rules felt unfair to Cheng Xiao. Sensing Mono's uncertainty, the master turned and addressed Cheng Xiao directly. "Cheng Xiao," he said, "since Tang San has already conceded the soul skill contest, I propose we allow both of you to fight with weapons. That way you can each demonstrate your full strength. What do you say?" A cool smile tugged at Cheng Xiao's lips. "Very well. Let Tang San use weapons. I came here with none, so there's no need for me to worry about picking one up. It's actually quite convenient." Tang San's jaw clenched at the casual contempt in Cheng Xiao's tone. His heart flared with determination. "Cheng Xiao," he said quietly, "you'll soon see exactly what power lies in the Tang clan's hidden armaments." Mano exhaled in relief. With both fighters in agreement, the dean nodded and stepped back, his decision made. Cheng Xiao's eyes widened in surprise. Tang San's second soul skill had turned out to be a stealth ability. "All right, Tang San," Cheng Xiao said with a faint smile, shifting his gaze toward his opponent. "This time, you'll strike first." He activated his invisibility and sprint boosts, certain that no hidden weapon, however potent, could find him before he found Tang San. "Don't underestimate me," Tang San snarled. His eyes flared with pure violet light, so fierce that Cheng Xiao felt a real chill run down his spine. In one swift motion, Tang San's hands flew to the twin sheaths at his hips. A moment later, he unleashed the full force of his secret arsenal, the 24 moonlit bridges. Swish, 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 swish! The wind tore through the air as dozens of razor-sharp darts soared outward, each one aimed at a vital point on Cheng Xiao's body. Cheng Xiao blinked and vanished. In an instant, his silhouette blurred, leaving only the whisper of displaced air. Yet Tang San's barrage, guided by keen instincts, continued to slice through the darkness, forcing his elusive opponent onto the defensive. Cheng Xiao's eyes flared with dark intensity as the power of shadow surged through him. Black mist coalesced around his body, rippling the air as it solidified into an invisible barrier. One by one, Tang San's concealed projectiles slammed against the barrier with loud clinks before falling harmlessly to the ground. Dean Mano stared in astonishment. "What is that? Some kind of defensive soul bone technique?" The master shook his head, brow furrowed. "No, it doesn't feel like a soul bone at all. I'm almost certain it's a soul ring ability, though I can't tell if it's his first or second ring skill. Either way, it isn't a soul bone." Dean Mano glanced at Cheng Xiao in disbelief. Soul bones are incredibly rare. There's no way an 8-year-old could have one. Tang San's face drained of color as he stared at the swirling black mist. How is this possible? Every single hidden weapon blocked? Before Tang San could react further, Cheng Xiao's form blurred with lightning speed. In the next heartbeat, he was in Tang San's face, fist cocked and ready to strike. "Game over, Tang San," he growled, his shadow-infused punch hurtling toward its target. He had never unleashed his shadow power in combat before, but this time he wouldn't hold back. "Strike the vital point," Tang San snarled. No sooner had he lifted an arm to defend than Cheng Xiao burst forward, his shadows flaring to their fullest. With a triumphant roar, Cheng Xiao hurled a punch, a streak of inky light slicing across Tang San's vision. Bang! The air exploded with brutal force. Tang San's eyes widened in shock as his arms jerked into position, only to realize the punch was a feint. Before he could adjust, Cheng Xiao's true strike shot in low, aiming straight for Tang San's legs. Chapter 40. Furious Yuxiaogang. "You've walked right into my trap." Cheng Xiao's kick blurred into motion, a white-hot arc aimed squarely at Tang San. A cold dread shot through Tang San. If Cheng Xiao connected with that strike, Tang San's skin would tear as though sliced by blades. Drawing in a steadying breath, he called out, "Ghostly," and sprang into his ghostly shadow steps, his form fracturing into afterimages as he tried to vanish from Cheng Xiao's reach. But Cheng Xiao wasn't about to let him slip away. A fierce light ignited in his eyes, and a wave of murderous intent erupted around him. With a roar, he activated his murderous intent technique. Instantly, Tang San felt every ounce of his strength drained away, his attributes halved in the flash of an eye. The ghostly shadow steps faltered and dissolved, leaving him exposed. Stripped of his speed and skill, Tang San's body grew leaden. Each movement was labored, as though invisible shackles weighed him down. In his mind's eye, a vision of a vast sea of blood and towering corpses unfurled, a haunting reminder of horrors he had fought so hard to leave behind. The world tilted, and for a terrifying heartbeat, he feared it would swallow him whole. Before Tang San could even react, Cheng Xiao unleashed the power of her purple devil eyes through her whip-like legs. A terrifying shockwave roared out, barreling straight toward him. The impact struck like a cannon blast. Tang San was sent flying, skidding across the floor before slamming down hard. He lay there a moment, winded, clutching his midsection as pain flared through every fiber of his body. Coughing violently, he fought to draw breath. That single strike had nearly ended the duel before it truly began. Ha! Dean Mano's laughter rang through the hall. Special weapons or no, Tang San simply can't stand up to Cheng Xiao. After a blow like that, he won't be fit to fight. Cheng Xiao cracked a triumphant smile as she watched him struggle to his feet, her whip legs still humming with residual energy. Master Ju's face darkened. He narrowed his eyes at Cheng Xiao, suspicion and annoyance twisting his features. What kind of martial soul does Tang San have that resists Xiao San so thoroughly? He muttered. Invisible and defensive. These traits shouldn't coincide unless it's a rare, hard-to-come-by soul skill. Did he stumble onto something extraordinary by accident? He scowled inwardly. If Tang San kept getting overwhelmed like this, his confidence would surely be crushed, and that would be a far harder wound to heal than any physical bruise. Is it still possible? Do I have to switch to the clear sky hammer? Tang San's breath came in ragged gasps as he staggered, the world around him dimming. It's over, Tang San. Standing tall before him, Cheng Xiao's eyes were hard as winter ice. It's time to surrender. No, I can't lose. I won't let teacher down. He clenched his teeth, lifting a trembling hand. A soft blue glow pulsed into being around him. My second soul skill, parasitize. A surge of determination flooded him. If he could infect Cheng Xiao at this range with the blue silver grass seeds, victory would be his. He held his breath and unleashed the skill. Xiao San, enough! At the shout, the master darted forward, intent on lifting Tang San to safety. But before he could reach him, a firm hand caught the master's outstretched arm. What are you doing? He's already beaten. Are you trying to kill him? The master demanded angrily, yanking against the grip. Cheng Xiao's expression remained unreadable. Master, lost? How so? He released the master's arm and took a step back. If Tang San himself admits defeat, then this duel is concluded. The master's eyes flicked from Cheng Xiao to Tang San, chest heaving. Silence stretched between them like a held breath, the inchoate energies of soul rings and awakened abilities crackling in the air. Tang San, kneeling in the aftermath of his failed parasite, struggled for words and for breath. Cheng Xiao's gaze softened just a fraction as he stood down. The LD seemed to tilt, every heartbeat echoing the finality of his next words. You're only his teacher. This isn't your match to win, the master snapped, glaring at Cheng Xiao. Cheng Xiao lifted her chin, her voice calm but unyielding. Not until Tang San himself admits defeat can this sparring end. After all, master, you said it yourself, battles between soul masters are ever-changing. The master's face drained of color. He'd uttered those exact words, never expecting Cheng Xiao to recall them and use them against him. Sensing the tension, Dean Mano hurried forward. Very well, I'll make the call. Cheng Xiao, you win this round. Tang San's condition makes it impossible to continue. Cheng Xiao didn't reply. She simply lowered her gaze to where Tang San lay on the ground, breathing heavily, and waited. The master knelt beside his student. Saner, yield now, he urged gently. Let me take you for treatment. Don't let stubbornness turn a bad injury into a catastrophe. Cheng Xiao watched him help Tang San to his feet, her expression softening ever so slightly. After all, this was her student too, and no one would be allowed to harm him beyond repair. Whether I win or lose isn't what matters, Tang San's master said quietly. What matters is how far you'll go on your cultivation path from here. At those words, Tang San drew a slow breath and looked up, his dark eyes cold and unreadable. Very well, he replied, I concede. But in his heart, Tang San was anything but defeated. He couldn't understand why, despite mastering the Tang sect's unique techniques, he still fell short against Cheng Xiao. Was he truly that weak? No, his blue silver grass spirit ring was simply underpowered. If only he could have trained with the clear sky hammer art, this outcome might have been different. Cheng Xiao stared at Tang San for a moment, then gave a slight nod to Dean Mano. With long, confident strides, he turned and left the arena. Tang San's master watched him go, his expression a mix of pride and concern, pride in his student's restraint, concern for his battered body. "Come," the master said gently, looping an arm under Tang San's shoulders. "Let's get you patched up." Dean Mano fell into step beside them, and together they hurried toward Notting College's infirmary. There, a healing spirit master of over 30 levels awaited, ready to tend to Tang San's wounds. Under such expert care, recovery was only a matter of time, and soon, Tang San would rise stronger than ever. When Cheng Xiao finally made it back to the dorm, he kicked off his shoes, took a quick shower, and slipped into something loose and comfortable. The room was empty. Xiaowu and the others were still in class, so silence enveloped him. He sat cross-legged on the edge of his bed, raised his right hand, and willed a swirl of black mist to coil around his palm. "I never imagined shadow energy could be this versatile," he murmured. "If I can solidify it into a weapon, I wouldn't have to lug around 2 daggers all the time." His gaze drifted to the gleaming steel blades resting on the table. They'd served him well on soul beast hunts, but ever since his encounter with the Shadow King, his own soul power had all but transformed into pure shadow energy. Why carry extra weight when he could forge a weapon from his own power? He shook his head, dismissing the thought, then closed his eyes and sank into his dark energy practice. Already, he could feel the difference. This shadow energy was far more assertive and adaptable than the bland, featureless soul power he'd once wielded. As the darkness bloomed beneath his skin, Cheng Xiao let himself drift deeper into training, eager to explore just how powerful his new gift could become. Since Cheng Xiao began converting his soul power into shadow force, his training speed has inevitably slowed, but he isn't worried. All things considered, his current rate of progress remains perfectly normal. If it weren't, he'd already be trailing far behind Tang San in soul power, and that simply isn't the case. After all, Tang San cultivates with the Xuantian divine art, which greatly accelerates one's growth, while Cheng Xiao depends solely on conventional meditation. The fact that he's held his own so far shows just how easy it is to climb the ranks in the earliest stages of cultivation. Of course, as one ascends to higher levels, progress invariably becomes more arduous and each breakthrough takes longer. That challenge, after all, is the heart of cultivation.